ago. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hello, Himbro. Welcome to the stream. It's gonna be a little bit more chill today. I'm not doing any action. This is not a high-octane gaming session for once. I haven't done this since I put a keyboard together. But hello. I'm decked out in as much holiday crap as I could find in VTube Studio, which is mostly ornaments and lights. And a hat. I like the hat. It stays on my head, which is unlike most hats. My head's too big for many hats. Let me turn down the music a little bit. There we go. That seems better. How are we all doing? Doing good? Good, I hope. I've collected a list of all the games that I played this year, which includes games that did not come out this year. So this is a special list, just for me. But you can also participate. I pinned a link in the chat where you can go and rate all these same games in the same categories that I'll be rating them. And then at the end, we'll find out the popular vote instead of my dictatorial thing. Ate too many burritos? No. I mean, that's not too bad. If you're just sleepy, just rubbing your belly at home, being like, oh, I ate so much, now I have to lay here and do nothing. So much fun. I actually kind of like doing that, but there does reach a point where you get so full, you have a bad time. And I hope you're not having a bad time. I hope you're having a good time. Yeah. Let's see. But yeah, the link's in the chat. I pinned it if you want to go check it out yourself. I don't know what you're watching on or whatever, but if you can open links on your device, feel free to check it out and you can give everything a rating. I don't love the way that it's set up. It's like color-coded and the colors are kind of backwards from what I'm going to be using, but we make do with what we've got. It's probably some prototype thing. I'm loving the whatchamacallit, the copyright-free Christmas music, this lo-fi. It's almost like a Christmas carol you recognize, but it's not quite there. In the good food coma zone, hell yeah, that's where you want to be. That's how we know we're having a good time, is when you're just relaxing after having a lot of food. Not so bulbous and extended or anything. Mary. Hello, Catsroy. Welcome to the stream. Merry Happy Merry, everybody. And happy non-denominational winter holiday. They decked my halls. I decked my own halls. I did all this myself. I didn't even turn the lights on. You guys don't even know where they're hooked up to. It's my butt. Anyways, let's just start rating some games. Do we want to rate some games? Maybe we should rate some games. Let's see if this works. Baha! It did. Wonderful. I have to put in focus. There we go. Beautiful. I'm going to move it over a little bit so I can see the chat a little better. Why do I have to make this gosh dang window so big? There we go. That'll do. That'll do, Piglet. Okay. I've counted all these. Can you see you can see my cursor. Good. I've counted all of these, and there's 22 games here, and a variety of opinions. My halls. When your halls be decked, that feel win. Did you guys let's see, have you decorated for your holidays? Do you normally decorate? I have to know. I used to be good at decorating, but that was back when I had like a tiny apartment and it was easy to decorate. And now we have a house and the house is much bigger, which is nice, and there's more people in it. But like I'm still kind of the only one who cares enough to do the decorating. So I kind of I bought Christmas lights that I was going to put up, and then like the 20th rolled around and I was kind of like, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll save those for next year. Maybe the buying was what I need to do this year. I don't really feel like putting the lights up outside. And it's kind of sad because we have like a corner house. So like we're extremely visible from most parts of the neighborhood, especially on the main road. And all we have right now is this one little like spiral of lights around a railing. and it barely even goes around like a couple of times. It's like, aha, but it's on a timer and it turns itself on. We love that. Love to decorate, but you gotta save money. Understandable. You gotta do what you gotta do. I found actually that what was it? At Home, our local place, At Home, they call it just At Home. It is surprisingly affordable, but it's also, I don't know, I would say mid quality. It's not the best. It could be better. But you know what? When you just want to decorate a little bit, like put some tinsel up or garland around something, you could probably do fine. And Michael's loves to, they discount a bunch of this stuff like right after Christmas, so you can always buy stuff for next Christmas or the next holiday season. Everyone's non-denominational holiday season. So, I played a lot of games this year. I'm going to go roughly in chronological order. I think I put these in chronological order, in the order that I played them this year. And these are all games that I've played enough to have an opinion on, if not complete. Some of them are not completable by design. Like, you can't complete Roller Coaster Tycoon. You can only, like, beat all the scenarios, but you're not really finishing the game. Same thing with MTG Arena, Marvel Rivals, and stuff like that. Those don't really get completed. You just stop playing after a certain point. I have a surprising thread of mystery games. I really went mystery pilled this year in like point and click adventure, or not even point and click. It's not really point and click. Console mystery, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. We're gonna get into it. So I have some categories. I'll go through the categories real quick. We have GOTY 2024, which I will wait until the very end to choose from all of my A tier. And then we have an excellent game. A is for an excellent game. B is for better than most. C is for cromulent but unremarkable. Oh, hello, stuff following me. Hello. Hello, Lan. You heard that coming in here makes you a bigger orc? Well, the science is not yet proven, but that also means you can't disprove it. You might be a bigger orc if you come to my streams. If you come to all of my streams, then you may grow as an orc. Who knows? Results not guaranteed, but it could happen. Where was it? Oh, C, cromulent but unremarkable. And if you guys don't know cromulent, cromulent means like mid but a little bit better, I would say. It's like perfectly serviceable. A fine, a good old high 7 out of 10. Nothing terribly special, but it's there. It's fine. It's good. And then for D tier, I have did not enjoy this one, folks. Did not have a good time. I think overall worse than better. So worse than most, you might even say. 5 to 7 out of 10. Yeah, exactly. Cromulent. Cromulent sounds like it should be a word that's like associated with like cantankerousness or crusty old people, but it's not. It's perfectly fine. 5 points. 5 to 7 out of 10 is a good way to put it. Thank you, Ghost Avian. Wonderful. Is it a Simpsons joke? I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I haven't watched that much Simpsons. It was one of those shows that my parents were like, when I was young, they were like, "You're not allowed to watch that. That's an adult show." I'm like, oh, okay. And then I never got around to like actually watching it when I was an adult or even like a teenager. I had other things to care about. It's whatever, Oh, also, I almost hesitate to tell people, but I did add a button in reference to my Halloween stream. I have a big bucket of Christmas cookies that are basically green frosting Christmas tree shaped cookies, like shortbread or something. And I have a much longer timer than I did last time. But yeah, see, he just did it. He did it. Neil found it. He hit the button and he redeemed 200 viewer points to make me eat a cookie. And so here you go. How? Fortunately, they're pretty small. I'm pretty tasty. I got them from a local HEB, which is a Texas chain, if you guys aren't aware. Wow. I'm chewing with my mouth closed to be nice to you guys. Okay. There we go. Okay. The fat work agenda has arrived. They're definitely going to make me do that. But it's got a 25-minute cooldown timer. I know what I'm doing this time. I'm not going to let y'all fill me up on cookies. I do intend to have dinner later. But first... and the last tier, I forgot to go. Video games derogatory, which I just didn't even want to put F. I just wanted to say that this is one I have, like, active hostility for. If I did not enjoy it, like, I think it's doing something to video games that makes the whole medium worse. There might be one or two that go in here. And it might be, I might have included them on my list just so I can complain about them on stream and have a reason to do so. So whatever. You saying you need to break out your cyber tech to give me more cookies? I mean, if you can hack Twitch just to reset the cooldown, I feel like that you might deserve to make me eat another cookie. Like, out of all the... if you put that much effort into it, you know what? Sure, I'll eat another cookie for you. Before the cooldown expires, of course. Like Marvel Rivals. Yes, well, maybe. We'll see. I have opinions. Marvel Rivals I have opinions about. I'm not going to say what category it goes in yet, even if it's not surprising. But we'll see. Anyways, where are we at? We're starting. Texas mentioned. It's been a while since you've been in Texas. I wonder if anything's changed now. Yes and no. I would say things are more expensive, but where is it not more expensive in general? And things are actually kind of moving back in the proper direction of being like a balance between affordable and kind of a cool urban area, at least for Austin. I live in Austin. Or I live just outside of Austin. I live in some kind of no man's land where my address doesn't say Austin, but I pay a bunch of Austin utilities. So I don't know what that means. I guess I live in Austin. If I have to pay for Austin trash, I feel like I should say I get to live in Austin. But yeah. The orc not having a cookie is included in World Hungers. It's true. That will solve the choice. But yes. Well, hello, Deep One. What are you... wait, are you smacking? Or are you waving? What is that emote? I have to know. You when you're in the sequel to Osmosis Jones, I Live in Austin, the guy. Kirill. I'm looking directly at you, Kirill. Oh, you. What? I just got bombarded with emotes. Oh my god. Okay. It is a Kirill. Kirill lurks in my streams. He's my own little cryptid. I have seen Osmosis Jones. It was one of the grossest movies that I've ever seen, actually. Despite, like, not being a horror movie. It was pretty nasty. Oh, hey, Ego Jalapeno. Hello. Welcome. I just walked through all these tiers. We're gonna start doing some rating. What do you guys think? We're gonna rate? Let's rate. Let's rate some games. Let's rank some stuff. I'm gonna put it largely in order, I think. There might be some things that are tied, but like the more to the left, the higher it is, I would say. Yeah, okay. The more to the left, the higher it is in the rank. The more to the right, the lower it is. The last tier about, it's video games derogatory, and it means that if I put something in here, I think it's bad. It's not just bad; it's taking everyone else down with it. If it's just bad, I put it in. Did not enjoy this one, folks. Actually, is that okay? Good. I thought there was an extra space in there. We're good. We're good. Anyways, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. It's this one. Where are we putting it? The reason I put this here is this is not actually the first year that I played Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. It is the first year that I got really into it, and I feel like I played it properly because of the mod Open RCT2, which I highly recommend if you have Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 on Steam, which you can probably get for like $3 because it's the Steam sale. I'd recommend that because it fixes a lot of bugs. It makes it run a lot better. It runs in C++, but it is really impressive that the original Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 ran on assembly, which is nuts. It's nuts. Oh, Neil, you know who Marcel Voss is. That's a pot calling the kettle black, Mister. Howdy, hi, Falden. We've just started raiding. I'm talking about Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. I did not. Fun fact: I never actually owned the original Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 when it came out. I only had the first one, and for the longest time, like I had that disc and like the expansion disc for so long that I kept I moved it with me from house to house, and there came a point where I still had the disc, and it had been like 2 or 3 computers since I had a disc drive. Like I just forgot, and then I've assumed like, oh yeah, well, I'll install it some way, right? What was I doing at the Devil's Sacrament? Yeah. Oh. Always hearing about C++, but why not C++? I think... Is there a C- language? I know there's a C# and a C. I don't know much about programming languages, other than there are some. And some of them are named after C. Which I can only assume stands for computer. Anyways, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. I like this game a lot. It's very much it's a great chill out game. It's nice to play when I just want to like zone out and kind of put myself on autopilot and listen to an audiobook or something. And people call them podcast games. But even so, I'm gonna put it kind of low B tier, as better than most, because I do think of it as kind of the standard. Like it should be somewhere between B and C here. As this is the standard I judge a lot of games by. Like, if I think I'll have a better time than playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, then I'll play it. If I don't think it'll be better, I usually kind of just avoid it. Albie, hello! Welcome. I recognize, I've seen your handle before. I know what you're doing. Controversial takes have begun. Oh, thank you for the follow, Albie. I thought you already were? I don't know, whatever. I assumed you were. I assume everyone follows me, and I assume that I follow everyone until I find out that I'm not for some reason. This orc has opinions? Gross. Cancel him. Destroy him. Everyone does follow me, and they should. I'm so glad that someone hacked Twitch to reset my cookie countdown and also make me follow, or make everyone follow me. Thank you all. That's so cool of you. Team Hacker Man did that for me. Podcast games got podcast podcast gays. Oh, I get it. But yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. It's good. It's classic. It's wonderful. It still runs well. The pixel art has aged remarkably well. It's delightful. You say anything about games this year because your biggest gaming time this year is playing Skyrim and VNs. I mean, hey, that's the beauty. Play what you want to play. Games demand a lot of time, and I think in the year 2024. You deserve to spend time on games that you want to play. Like, if there's anything I've learned about live service games, it's that they just want desperately to be your main focus of attention for so long. You do not remember what games you played this year? I had to go back and check. I opened up every year in review for like Steam and Epic and Nintendo and Sony and Xbox and shit. I'm like, I have to know. I thought it was more than 22, but I guess it's just 22. I mean, I tried some, but I never like got that far into them, so I feel kind of bad judging them. But you know what it is. It is what it is. Anyways, I'm proud of yourself for how many games you played this year. Yeah, and RPGs being long. Not gonna lie, definitely finished a lot more RPGs lately now that I don't have a day job temporarily. The only game you've ever played is Monster Hunter Puzzle Feline Islands. How does that... Is it puzzle like Puzzle Quest? How does that work? Tell me. Go on. Recovering from burnout is a process. It really is. It's so crazy. Like, you think that... I thought that I was like, oh man, like, I'll be back on the wagon after just a couple of weeks. And then like a full 3 or 4 passed, and I was like, I'm relearning how to be a person again after getting laid off and like having my identity defined by my work. Oh, that was fun. But yeah, it turns out it's actually going to fit pretty well. I'm looking into new stuff and probably going to do a little bit of a career pivot. But that's why we have streaming. I have something to work on in the meantime. So match 3 makes sense. I believe it. A match 3 for Monster Hunter Puzzle. I should read. Also, now, oh no, 120-hour JRPG. Man, 120 hours is a long time. And there are some games that really want me to do that. Hope for the best in the pivot. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. I haven't put out too many feelers yet. I haven't done a whole lot of applying. I'm doing a lot of getting certifications and things, and doing research first. But I'll update you all when I have more meaningful things to share there. But that's the nice thing, is that this extra time has given me free time to play video games, including what's probably going to be my game of the year, but I'm not going to tell you yet. Anyways, this next one, I wish I could like zoom in on these a little bit better, but this is Case of the Golden Idol, the Lemurian Vampire, which I technically played. I'm including DLCs, even if I played the original game earlier than 2024. I'm pretty sure I played this in like January of this year. And you know what? This is going to be crazy, you guys. Lemurian Vampire and kind of Case of Golden Idol as a whole, it's pretty excellent. I'm going to put it kind of low A, because it is just a DLC, and it's only like 3 cases, and as part of a whole, it's probably way better, but I really liked what it did. I kind of suffered. I think I have the whole thing on stream, if you want to go back and watch it. Yeah. That was the thing, it was crazy. Put it higher. Can't go higher. It's in the highest tier. Silly Neil. But yeah, if DLC can be in the official GOTY 24 rankings, I was shocked that the Elden Ring like DLC got a GOTY nom. I was kind of like, come on, guys, do we really do this? Do we let these games let DLC beat out entire full games? I was a little mad, mainly because I'm just not an Elden Ring guy. I understand that people really like it, but it has yet to grab me, and I've tried a lot of times to try and get grabbed by it. It could be higher if it had an orc and a bugbear and a giant dragon, and if they were I agree. It would be well on its way to GOTY 2024. But yeah, Lemurian Vampire was very good. I liked it the way that it tied into the rest of the game as a little prequel. It was a real stumper, especially that last one. I got really hung up on some of that, like the lore. Yeah, the lore. I've never really looked that deep into the lore. Maybe I should. Maybe I should just let some YouTuber tell me about the game. That's usually how it goes. But yeah. Oh god. Oh, now we're in opinion zone again. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is the middle chapter in the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy, preceded by Final Fantasy VII Remake, which came out in 2020, and I really liked that one. I very much enjoyed it. And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I put 90 hours into this game, maybe even longer. Like, I think it was the game, like, the save file said 95, but I feel like with the amount of times I restarted sometimes, it might be more. And god, this game, I'm so mad, because I feel like if you take out 20 to 30 hours of this game, it's incredible. It would be Game of the Year. But the problem is, it does not respect your time. It is bloated with mini games. And if you want to like play the game, the fun part, like the combat system and like the interactive cutscenes and things like that, and really build out your characters, classic RPG stuff, you have to play the mini games. If you want to go on a date with Aerith, you have to do like 5 side quests, 1 in each region for Aerith, and you got to make sure that you have her it has the like Dragon Age style approval system. So the more stuff you do with that character, the more they like you, and the more they like you, the more the better result you get when you play the game. It's like, yeah, you could play it, and it would feel kind of empty because you would just have a more lacking experience with it if you don't do all the side stuff, and it kind of pulls you in that direction, and I'm kind of mad about that. And so it's still good, but it's not Game of the Year. And I'm a little bit nicer on the ending than some people. So full disclosure, I will talk about a little bit of spoilers for most of these games, like halfway through, but I'm not going to talk about like ending spoilers or like late game stuff. in general, but I might reveal some things that are like, within the first half or so. Side quests, historically the strongest part of Final Fantasy games. Yeah, man. It's sad because, like, as a whole, they've really evolved. Like, you could feel like it trying to be Witchery, like Witcher 3 specifically. But yeah, playing it is fun. Like, I enjoyed the combat, and it's one of the few games where I went into, like, the training mode and, like, the combat simulator and all that stuff to, like, just play the combat. However, I don't know, it didn't quite click towards the end. They didn't do a very good job of communicating the ideas that they were trying to communicate. They obfuscated a lot of stuff behind, like, things that are implied or unspoken, and you're supposed to kind of, like, draw a conclusion, and nobody seems to have gotten that right. And I'm kind of like, is that the fault of the audience, or did you just not communicate that very well? And people were talking about the ending a whole bunch. I'm kind of like, let me just say, I'm gonna play the next one, but I'm disappointed with what they did on the ending, and I'm hoping that they will it felt like it was a bit of a nosedive, and I kind of hope they pull it back up and right the ship, essentially. B for Barrett. That is perfect. It is a B for Barrett. Thank you, Barrett. Get out of here. Barrett elevates this game a lot. He's adorable. I do appreciate him. His character is a lot stronger in this game, mainly because this game is a bajillion hours long. And the original it's twice as long as the original FF7. Like, this one game. And so it has a lot more to say about its characters. And it's a really good hangout game. Yeah. I really hope that, the ending kind of gets explained properly by the next game. But then, if you have to rely on the next game in the franchise fixing things, did you really do it properly? Looks at you, Dragon Age the Veilguard. We'll get to you, mister. We'll get to you. BP for double B for Barrett's beautiful B cups. We appreciate him and his goofy sailor outfit. All the girls got, like, fun swimwear. Poor Barrett got stuck in the sailor outfit, which looks great, but it's just not the same. It should have been for us together, all of us. What else can I say about this game before I move on? This is my chance. This is my soapbox for me to complain about this game. I will say, the music is incredible. Every area has a, like, overworld exploration song, and then a remix of that song is the battle theme. That's, like, more intense and more fun. Specifically, like, the Cosmo Canyon, and I want to say, what was the other one? Cosmo Canyon was a big one. I really liked the battle theme for that one. Gungaga actually had that. What do I think of the meta? The meta for what? Like the meta, like, layer, the meta textual, the meta narrative or whatever. I don't know. Oh, Kirill, I mean, I would absolutely recommend playing Remake before Rebirth, partly because it's definitely a part 1 of the part 2 of the 3-part story that they're telling. But yeah, like, Remake is absolutely worth playing, especially if you like the original FF7. Just be aware it's doing something different, and it's gonna, like, it's gonna go in a different direction over time. And that's kind of what made Rebirth kind of frustrating, is that it's like a bunch of the outside of Midgar stuff, because Remake was all Midgar, and Rebirth was like, oh cool, we're gonna go all around the world, we're gonna see all this stuff, and, like, you get through, like, you visit so many places in the world, and you're kind of like, what's left to do after this? Like, I know that there's another disc basically on the original game, but, like, I've been to a lot of these places, and we followed this. We've like included more stuff from, like, all around the game and put it into this one. So I'm really hoping they do something different on the 3rd game. But if it's really, like, if they really do all this extra meta layer of, like, we're doing our own thing, we're telling our own story, but, like, the meat and potatoes of it is still very FF7, I'm kind of like, do something, come on. Need a better GPU. Yeah, those games are very... There's a lot of polygons. They put so many polygons on Cloudstrife's hair alone. It used to be like 12, and now it's millions. Millions. Can you believe that? Anyways, it's still good. Like, it's still better than most games, I would say. Like, top 5 RPGs I played this year, and I played a lot of RPGs. I tried a lot of RPGs. I've demoed a few. It's still very good. It's... the Cloud is poly, good for him. It kind of is, honestly. The Cloudstrife polycule is like a huge part of... I don't know, a huge part of the game. I want to Bugbear Barret, Dragon Cloud, and Orc Nanaki. I would absolutely do that. Hello, Sony. We were just talking about FF7 Rebirth. I'm rating all these games on a tier list. I like Nanaki. I liked his arc in this one. A lot of people missed it because it wasn't really translated very well in the original, and it didn't have voice acting. And this time they have voice acting everywhere. And gosh, I thought it was really cute. I don't know. I thought it was a fun way to be honest with yourself, but I know a lot of people were really upset about discovering that about that character. It's kind of like late half. You get to dig into Red 13's backstory a lot and learn a little bit more. And it ties into the main story in an interesting way, but it was ultimately like just one dungeon in the original game. And it's like, oh, now it's a whole subplot. But yeah, I don't know. The music's really good. The production's really good. Like it's a very well put together video game. Like, it's a piece of software. Incredible stuff. As a piece of art, I am frustrated by it. That's what I call it. It's frustrating art, excellent software. Like the music and visuals especially are very good. The final sequence is mind-bogglingly weird, but then again, that's very par for the course on Final Fantasy. And the fact that it doesn't like wrap up, being a middle chapter is very difficult. It's hard to be a middle chapter. It's like being a middle child. You're not the baby. You're not the new one that everyone comes around, but you're also not the oldest who gets all the attention from the beginning. So you're kind of like somewhere in the middle. And this one, there's a point. I'll wrap it up in a bow with this. There's a point, I would say, about 2/3 away through the game that everybody hits. And it's part of, like, doing something to make Aerith like you a little bit more. So a lot of people do it. It's a side quest. And you get there, and you're supposed to go pick up some mushrooms. And you think, oh yeah, I'm just going to go pick up these items, maybe get in a fight, and I'll come back to the town. No. You bend down, you pick up the mushroom, and a minigame starts. And you have to hold the stick, like the left stick, in a certain way, and then use the pressure-sensitive trigger on the PS5 controller to detect the right angle to pull the mushroom from. And everybody just kind of breaks a little bit when that happens. Like, people remember that moment. Oh, yeah. Gosh, that one was rough. I finished that minigame and I was just kind of like, I don't want to do any more minigames, you guys. I'm tired of minigames. I feel sick. So you largely agree? You had a lot of fun with the Cosmo Canyon bit, left with a bad taste in your mouth. Yeah, it was weird. I didn't like how touristy it felt with this, and there was a bit of like implied crunchy hippie Woodstock kind of, like nature loving versus actual, like environmentally appreciative and sustainable nature loving. And like the gift shops and the hotel and stuff was really weird. Did not love that. The less time I spent in Cosmo Canyon's like town area, the better. The rest of it I appreciated. There was a lot more stuff going on. The combat stuff, the side quests there were kind of interesting, except for the stupid RT real-time strategy robot game that they had. I don't know. Another minigame that was unnecessary. Anyways, I've talked about this game long enough. It's a high B, but it's not Game of the Year material, is what I will say. It doesn't crack my top 5, and I'm annoyed that, like, it cracked my top 5 longest playtimes, but it did not. I don't feel like it earned that. It didn't earn the time that I spent on it, which is why I'm kind of mad about it. Especially after the ending was so unclear, and purposefully unclear. It's kind of annoying. hard pivot towards Balatro. Balatro? Balatro. Do you guys say Balatro? I say Balatro. Do people say Balatro? Balatro? I think Balatro is the other one. God. Yeah. God, Balatro's good. Game of the Year contender. Absolutely. Boom. Putting it high A. Sorry, Golden Idol. You are just DLC. It's so good. Oh my god, you guys. I'm gonna put all my top fives into the the GOTY tier. No, I'm gonna choose my GOTY from all of the A tier games, which might be like 5 or 6. We'll see. But yeah, God, Balatro. If you haven't heard of it, if you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. Give it a try. My husband makes fun of me because whenever I play it, he looks over my shoulder. He's like, "Is that your gambling game?" And he did it to make fun of me. He knows that it's not a gambling game. And then Peggy went and rated it 18 plus because it has playing cards. Whatever. So dumb. Anyways, it doesn't actually require gambling knowledge. It's a poker game, but it's not about poker. He went on a whole rant about it and how it erased indigeneity from the because it was easier than the interrogation and work. Yeah, I bet it is. Yeah, I feel that. It's kind of like you sit there and you see something brush up against greatness, and it's just like, and then they just back away at the last second. You're like, oh, you could have done it. You could have made it. I'm gonna play Balatro so bad. I recommend it. It's so good. Like, Albie and Neil in the chat, they're in my Fabula Ultima game, and they know this, but everybody else, I like Balatro so much that I made it a minigame in my tabletop campaign. Like, I forced these new mechanics. I adapted Balatro mechanics into a JRPG tabletop game, and and I think it went pretty well. We did a few different versions of it, and then we gently moved on because we went away from the casino city, so it made sense. Oh, see, Alfie liked it. Okay, good. Thank you, Alfie. Forced to play Balatro against your will. Am I too broke for games? Your Steam list is over 700 times. Oh my god, that's a big one. Carol, you don't want to play Balatro, or you want to play Balatro, but you don't want my husband to make fun of me. Look at it this way. My husband's gonna make fun of you regardless, so you might as well just play what you want to play. He just does that to people, but he does it in like a quiet. If he makes fun of you, it's because he likes you, but like genuinely. But yeah, favorite jonkler? Man, favorite jonkler. That's a good question. Favorite jonkler. God, how do I pick one? I think I really like Hack, where you re-trigger 2, 3, 4, and 5. I also like the Midas Mask that makes all face cards gold. And then there's one, I can't remember what it was called, but the one that makes every card of, or Paradelia, the one that makes all cards face cards, because I feel like that enables so many ridiculous things. My favorite deck is the Zodiac deck, though, because I just like really getting a lot of tarot and spectral and stuff off. Paradoilia, that one. Husbands who playful teases top tier. You know, it's funny, but like, he thinks about, I shouldn't say he plays League of Legends, because he doesn't, but he thinks about League of Legends a lot. And that always gives me a little sense of superiority over him. Just a little bit. It's like, he can't call me cringe. He plays League of Legends. Or he played League of Legends for a long time. Hoping that when you hit 1,000 on your wish list, Gabe Newell will come to your house crying and just give you a gift card. I mean, he should. He should do it anyway. You don't need to hit 1,000 for that. He should just do it. I'll message him. I'll say, Mr. Gaben, please go to my friend Sahoni's house and give him every game. Every game on Steam. Yeah. But yeah, Balatro, excellent game. Because it's a roguelike, it doesn't really have like a conventional narrative, and I'm okay with that. Most of the games, like, I'd rather have them abandon a narrative than try and force one in. I really like the mechanical interactions with it. It's really cool. The soundtrack is excellent. The visuals are well done. The animations are very snappy. It has the juice. It's excellent juice. Very juicy. And it's a wonderful like palate cleanser. I try very hard to not play the mobile version too much, and it kind of the size of my phone helps kind of keep it from getting ridiculous. But if I like put it on my tablet and then started taking that everywhere, oof, I would have a hard time not playing it. You had a very good game year. A lot of games really got you thinking. A lot of that feel good, and even some that made you shed some of your cynicism. Nice. Yeah, 2024 was a very good year of games for me. Like, not gonna lie, you guys. This is gonna be a very top heavy tier maker by the time we're done with this. Yeah, and Balatro, like, I've come back to it regularly between a lot of these other games just to kind of like, okay, I finished a big one. Let's play a couple Balatro runs and just chill out. Like, it kind of like Roller Coaster Tycoon, it's a very chill-friendly game. Like, I can put on a podcast and play Balatro, especially if I just keep it on like one of the lower chips or stakes, and not think too hard. Although that doesn't mean I don't want to play, like, try and get the orange stake or the purple stake or whatever on a lot of stuff. Or red? No, red's the early one. I forget what the gold stake, I think, is the last one. I actually haven't hit gold stake on anything. But that's mostly just because I haven't run the numbers on it. I keep forgetting a lot of my knowledge, and then I come back to it. I'm like, I get into that like orange purple area, and I'm like, yeah, I feel good about this game, and then something comes along, like Paper Mario. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, a surprisingly faithful remake, not even adaptation, just straight up remake. Put this back. The thing you love about Balatro is deceptively simple as a game. I assume there's more to that. I bet the enter key. The enter key being right next to the apostrophe key has caused so many messages to be sent early. But yeah, Balatro, excellent game. Play it. Get it if you want to. I mean, if you don't, it's one of those games that's like, I don't think I'm into roguelikes. Doesn't matter. You'll like this one. It's just, it activates the lizard brain that makes you see patterns, and then it rewards you for seeing more of those patterns. And then you get jokers that enable those patterns, and you're just like, oh yeah, that feels good. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. I had this originally on GameCube, and I foolishly sold it to GameStop because I was like, I played it once, I'll never need it again. And it was one of those. Oh, just a few good choices and feedback. It's mostly a lot of if-then statements and a few good choices. Yeah, like the choice to keep score previews hidden. That's smart, because you really have to like consider that. And I love that one like animation of the score box getting like set on fire if you ever exceed the like goal of the score in one hand. That's UI perfection. That's chef kiss right there. Oh, it's incredible. I think I have I did at least one stream of Balatro. I think just one. So if you guys are curious, feel free to go back and check out the VODs if you want to. Paper Mario. I'm such a back to Paper Mario. Played the original, sold it foolishly. Never got a chance to play it again. I think I tried to emulate it once, but it was not emulating very well, and the emulator did not handle it. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then I got it on the Switch, and I got all the way, I finished the whole damn game in a way that I did not expect. Normally, whenever I try to play this game, I peter out around Chapter 2. And Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door specifically, I think it does a really good job of being an RPG that just does different shit. It just avoids the stuff that every RPG feels like it has to do for the first, 2 or 3 chapters. The first 20-30% of the game. 2? What? Yeah, Chapter 2. Yeah, I don't know. The thing is like, Chapter 1 is a little bit more normal. Not even getting to the Glitz Pit. Well, that's the thing, is like, I would get to the Glitz Pit, or I would get to Chapter 2, and I would like kind of get tired because it's a little monotonous. Then I would get to the Glitz Pit and be like, I'll pick this up again soon, and then I wouldn't. So it was usually like between Chapter 2 and 3, I would get hung up on stuff. And that happened like 2 times, I think. and especially with the emulation, because the emulation made it very hard for me to continue with like a bajillion, punies on screen or whatever, 100 to 1,000, blah blah blah. I hate Puniper. I do. I hate Puniper. No, not really. I think that Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, like the fact that it came out in 2004, and it did so many things different from what RPGs were supposed to do in the early 2000s, made it a really good game at that time, and I think it's aged very well. However, we live in a world where RPGs they're not afraid to do something different in their openings now, and because of that, it's not as special as it used to be. However, the art style, the music, the writing kind of elevated beyond that. So I would say that like Paper Mario is aged really well. Still a GOTY 20 years later. I mean, I think it's better than whatever won GOTY in 2004, which was probably Halo 2, I think. Remember Halo 2 and like Metroid Prime 2 were up against each other in 2004, and everyone, but I'm sitting over here going, Paper Mario, that's the good one. And I'm a Metroid fanboy. Charmed by how simple interlocking all the systems are. They just feed into each other. Yes! It was honestly, like, seeing those things, like the badges, like the flexibility of the badge point system alone kind of just opens your eyes into, like, oh, this is what RPGs can do. Good baby's first RPG. Yeah, like Fisher-Price RPG, non-derogatory, complimentary. Like, oh, you want to try RPGs? You want to get into that adventure mood? You want to have that kind of stuff? Throw in Paper Mario. You got it. Low skill floor, high skill ceiling. Absolutely. Yeah, like I've seen some people do some crazy stuff with like Pit of 100 Trials, but like with mods where they make them even harder. And it's not like Pit of 100 Trials is too terribly difficult on its own. I feel like anybody with the amount of, if you just sit there and you puzzle it out, you can find a way to do it, and you can find the shortcuts and all that stuff that make it, accomplishable. But with the mods and stuff like that, that's when things get funny. And I think the fact that the game is flexible enough that you can just tweak a few things and make it this really challenging mode, I think that speaks to the quality of the original game. So yeah, it's good. Surprise, surprise. Paper Mario good. Is it better than Lemurian Vampire? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, just a little bit. By the nature of being a full game. Unfortunately, Lemurian Vampire gets kind of like pushed it back because it's just DLC. But you know what? That's okay. I'm gonna be playing Rise of the Golden Idol probably pretty soon. Maybe early New Year, something like that. Depends on whether. I'm gonna be real with you guys. I don't know what I'm doing for New Year's, but people keep asking around in my area, and we're all like, who's gonna be the one to host the party? Who's gonna do it? It's not gonna be me. But if I get invited to a party, I'm gonna go to that, and I'll have a good time. But if not, probably a stream again. We'll see. No promises. Need to play the first one so bad. The first Paper Mario? That's on the Nintendo Online thing, right? I think. That's like surprisingly good deal for like a year's worth of access to good. Oh, but it's N64, so it's probably the more expensive version. Gotcha. Anyways, yeah, Paper Mario the original is very good. It doesn't hit quite the highs that Thousand Year Door does, but the art style is surprisingly good. 100% the best RPG on N64 out of all two of them. I don't know. Quest 64 is also present. Definitely not as good as Paper Mario. But yeah, Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door, good. Nodding. I have Prey Typhon Hunter. So, Prey 2017. Tactics Ogre was there. Oh yeah! I never played Tactics Ogre. I've never played a single Tactics Ogre game, even though I'm supposed to be a tactics boy. You would think that I would play one of those, but I never got to it. I came to RPGs late in my life for a young gamer. First Paper Mario is such a cozy, chill time. Yeah. It's definitely like, the first Paper Mario is like an interesting little take on how you can do a Mario RPG. Whereas Paper Mario 1000 Year Door is like, oh, we're going to try something with this one. oh, this is fun. We're doing new things. First one is like, oh yeah, you see the bones of what they're doing with Thousand Year Door especially, and then they move on to Super Paper Mario, and it's a whole different thing. And I don't have time for that. We don't have time to get into that. I have a soapbox a bajillion miles long, tall for that one. I have so many opinions. Prey, Typhon Hunter, right? So this is not Prey 2017, the main game. This is kind of DLC, kind of a standalone mode. It's called, I guess it's called Typhon Hunter. I thought it was Moon Crash. I meant to put Moon Crash. Maybe this is where I fucked up. But yeah. Oh, this is the version of it. Well, we have to pretend that I put Moon Crash on here, because that's what I meant to put on. After the news that Arcane was being shut down by Microsoft, especially since they're a local, I had to play Prey again because I missed it so much. But I finished that game before, so it doesn't technically count for this list. However, I played Moon Crash for the first time, and it's like a roguelike, but it has a story, but it also, like, you have to choose 5 different characters. They all have different abilities and different, like, skill sets, and you have to accomplish a big bunch of goals on this one big map and do like 5 different runs. And the later you pick the character, like the later runs, they have harder enemies that show up. And it's really interesting, but I think it's more interesting than good, unfortunately. Yeah, it's very, like, it's enlightening. It's like, it makes you really think about what they did with the main game versus what they did otherwise. Like how this could become a more, like, you can see the bones of, like, Deathloop in Moon Crash, even though they were developed by different studios. It's kind of weird. Like, there's Arcane Austin and Arcane Lyon, which Arcane Lyon is still going over in France. They made Deathloop, and I think they're working on a new Dishonored game. God, I hope they are. Whereas Arcane Austin was working on Prey. They did the first Dishonored, they did the DLC for it, they did Prey 2017, and then they did Redfall, which unfortunately just did not pan out very well. I'm very sad to hear that, but it's okay. We'll get to another game on this list that's very Dishonored-like, that is excellent, actually. Yeah, I'm gonna say Prey, Moon Crash, even though it's not technically this thing. It's C tier. It's cromulent. They shipped it. It was good. It was good that they shipped it. It's complete. They finished the assignment. It is a standalone DLC, but it's very interesting, and they have some cool ideas. I was not particularly thrilled by what it was. Yeah, I would rather go back and play the first like the main game of Prey again. But it's not bad. Like, I wouldn't rate it poorly, but it's just not for me. It's not my flavor. It's not what it is. Oh, Albie. Oh. Are you a big fan of Moon Crash, Albie? Did it tickle your buttons or whatever? Press your buttons? What's the phrase where you, like, does it scratch that itch? Does it tickle those? Blah. Whatever. Somebody else figure that out. You're a bigger fan of the main game. Yeah, it's because, I don't know, the main game has more stuff going on in it. It has more interesting things to say. It's maybe not quite as mechanically deep because those, like, choices are more interesting in Moon Crash. But I don't like the trade-off. Tickle your butt. Yeah, I know. Put that on a shirt. Does that tickle your buttons? Yeah, I don't know. It's I feel bad because it's like, it's a game made by one of my favorite studios, and it's better than Redfall, that's for sure. But oof, yeah, I don't know. Moon Crash was a time. I think Typhon Hunter is the, like, Prop War or the, like, Gmod, whatever game that is, where you, like, pretend to be objects and hide from people. I didn't realize there was a Prey version of that. I foolishly grabbed the wrong thing here, but whatever. Prey Moon Crash, pretty good. Cromulent, perfectly cromulent. The Moon Crash was the reason you were hopeful for Redfall. Oh no. Then Redfall was Redfall. Yeah. The problem was that Redfall came out, like, what? Right after, was it Rebirth or something? Like, it came out, like, the same weekend that another huge game came out, and I played that instead, and I felt kind of bad. But I don't know I can't remember what it was. But yeah, it was something I was I was quietly hoping for more, and then we never got there. But alas, Play Prey 2017, really good game, and a lot of the issues that were a problem at launch are no longer there, and chances are your computer, if you have one, runs it way, like today, it runs way better than the stuff that was running, you know, that game in 2017. So give it a shot. If you like Dishonored, if you like story games, if you like Deus Ex, if you like BioShock, you gotta play it. Redfall had a lot of production issues from up top. Yeah, gosh, Microsoft causing issues in upper management of game studios and then shutting them down? How'd that happen? This next one is Animal Well, and this is kind of the one I've been dreading talking about because I must have put 10, 12 hours into this game, and it just did not click with me. I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry to admit that Animal Well is also a low C tier. I feel like this game is meant to be played by a group of people all at once, the way that like Dark Souls games are played by the community, and people are like, I want to like it. I love the style. I love the vibes. I love the like the light bright aesthetic it kind of has, but I wanted so bad to like it, and it just didn't do it for me. I feel like, yeah, it just didn't click. But you know what? Like, this is my 2024 list. Here's the thing. It took a while for Outer Wilds to click with me. It took 2 years for me to like really go all in on that, and that became one of my favorite games of all time. And it was worth it, and I'm glad that I kept going. And I'm sure I'll revisit Animal Well. And I think I just need to be in the right headspace to like sit and learn from the game, or maybe get like a starter kit or something, just like some tips that aren't like trying to hide everything behind some obtuse language. Because like, I know there's crazy stuff in this game, but I never got even close to like touching that stuff. Like, I heard people talk about QR codes and like phone numbers or something, and I'm like, whoa, this has got to be nuts. And I'm playing it, I'm just like, this feels like a Metroidvania where I die if I do anything. And I struggle with games that are like punishingly difficult, especially if you're just a little blob that is nothing, that just dies, and you can blow bubbles and stuff. It's like, the game is an ARG. Yeah, exactly. Like, I need to hit that ARG part. Low info games that want you to discover can be really hit or miss. Yeah, and I feel like I'll come back to this, and I'll probably play it, and I have a feeling it'll be good. I have not had the time or the desire to come back to it yet, because it's just, I want my Metroidvanias to be very like fast and fluid and slick and polished. And this is polished, but it's not fast. It's not fluid. It's very methodical. It's thudding. You go from one area to another. I think there's a fast travel system. I didn't really like. I couldn't jive with it for some reason. If it worked better than what I thought it was, I think it was just like you go to a nearby hotspot and then you find another hotspot to swap with, and it just. I could tell there's something. Like, people talk about how like, oh, this game's 33 megabytes, but it has so much. And I'm like, yeah, that does sound pretty cool. I really do. I really do want that to be like an excellent experience. However, the experience that I had in 2024 was just kind of, it was there. It was put together. And ultimately I was kind of like, I needed to step back. I needed to play a game that I wanted to play. And that game was Paradise Killer. Paradise Killer. Oh, man. So here's the deal. Paradise Killer is an easy A. Because Paradise Killer is like... You know those... when you play like a mystery game, and there's usually... They come in two flavors. They have like 5 to 6 cases, and sometimes there's a through line, but mostly you're going through doing the cases. and each one has its own thing. And Paradise Killer is the other flavor, where it's all one big mystery that you're just kind of like, that's broken down into these sub-mysteries, and it's all the evidence is just out on this giant island, and you just keep exploring. And in theory, like, I find that the investigation portion of most mystery games is the most tedious, because that's the one where you have to go around and hunt for everything that you need to find. The way that Paradise Killer is organized is like, it encourages you to move around the island and find a bunch of stuff, but also when you find one thing, you pick up a breadcrumb trail that just takes you to this other thing, to the other thing, to this other thing, and then you just unearth some ridiculous secret about the world. And it's a crazy world. Like, it's truly a vaporwave, like, in every sense kind of world, because vaporwave as like a genre, as a music genre, is very obsessed with how like the glitz and glamour of the promise of consumerism and the actual decay that is caused by consumerism. And Paradise Killer takes place on this island where, like, the nature of the world, like, it's this demi-plane that, like, exists between the supernatural and the real world. And so it's kind of like this halfway point, a little bit like a purgatory even. And that kind of thing, like, Paradise Killer constantly, like, this island has to be rebuilt and restarted, and it requires, like, ritual sacrifice from most people on the island, and only the, like, elite class gets to move on to the new one. And you're a member of that elite class, and everybody involved in the mystery is a member of that elite class. It has really, like, it's kind of depressing if you, like, sit there and think about where you are in this world your player character exists versus everybody else. And you sit there and you're just kind of like, God, that I can't imagine being a regular ass person in this world. Like, and by the time you get there as a player character, everybody's already dead, and there's like 12 people left who haven't moved on to this new island, and the only reason they haven't moved on to this new island is because of the murder that has happened. Like, you know, like 6 or 7 council members all died, and they were all killed by, you know, one phenomenon apparently. And that was what, like, they are prevented from going on to the next island. Oh shit, only $4.99 on Steam right now. That's a good deal. So, I should warn you, you can go to the trial at any point during the game, and you can just, like, end the game. And you can clock out. You can just be like, yeah, I found everything. Yeah, I didn't find enough to convict anyone. And then the judge is like, well, I guess everybody gets to go, and this mystery's forever unsolved. And you're like, wow, that's kind of sad. And you could just end the game that way. If anything, my one issue with the game is that the trial portion is a little underwhelming after you spend all this time going through all of the investigation. Like, 80% of the investigation, maybe more, or 80% of the game is investigation. A lot of the games don't make the investigation part interesting. They focus on the solve. Yes. The solve is like, is the climax, and we love that. We love a good climax. But you have to have that, like, rising action of the investigation. And so much of the time, like, you just get all these disparate pieces, and then you get to the end and, like, oh, I figured it out. And it's just one really big reveal. Whereas Paradise Killer, like, you unearth individual mysteries baked into people's backstories to the point where once you have enough information, you can basically choose who gets to be blamed for each of these, like, individual sub-mysteries. And that's kind of your choice as the detective, is to go, I think this person is largely responsible for this, even if they, you know, it's the same way that, like, you hire an assassin to kill somebody. The assassin technically did kill them, but you're the one who paid for it, you're the one who made it happen, you're the inciting incident. And so you kind of get to choose between, like, oh, do I blame the assassin? Do I blame the person who hired them? Do I blame the person who told them to hire an assassin? Like, you know, that level of, like, who really... And they die. Like, the character dies in front of you. It's graphically, like, obscured, and it's stylized, and it's, you know, PNGs and, you know, gentle animation, so it's not, like, graphic. But it's interesting because you're like, damn, I really did just tell the judge, hey, I have a bajillion reasons why this person did the murder of 6 people. And the judge goes, yep, well, kill him. And then you do. It's like, what the shit? It's crazy. But yeah, I highly recommend it. I think. Oh man, so it's tough. I want to put it between. It's not Balatro good. It's better than Lemurian Vampire, but does it go higher or lower than Paper Mario? That's where I'm struggling. Return of the Obra Dinn is also an excellent mystery kind of game, just because it's another one of those like sub mysteries all unfolding as you solve each individual one and get closer to the truth. You know what? If I was comparing like the original release of Paper Mario, I would say that's probably the one. But I think if the remake, it's slightly better than the remake of Paper Mario. I think Paradise Killer originally came out in 2020, and I actually bought it on my old computer, and it didn't work. It just would not launch. And so I was like, I'll come back to it someday. And I'm so glad I did, which is why I believe in Animal Well. Animal Well, I'll come back someday to you. It's not a matter of technical problems on my computer, but I'll get you back. And then after that, Destiny 2, the final shape. I like it. I'm just gonna say from the beginning, the final shape is good. It's at least cromulent, is what I would say. I did not have a bad time with it. But it's hard to play that without getting stuck in all of the problems that Destiny 2 has had over the years, and Destiny as a whole. And it's the end of the Light and Darkness saga, and it's very conclusive, and I get what it was doing. And it had a nice send-off for another big character that's kind of been haunting the narrative for a long time. It was great to have like a big comeback for some things. I thought the Witness as a character, as an antagonist, was fascinating. You know, the final shape... Like, I played Lightfall right before Final Shape because I heard it was kind of bad. And then after playing that, the Final Shape could go only be better. Lightfall was pretty awful as an experience. The problem is that the Final Shape is, like, probably the best Destiny 2 expansion. But how does a Destiny 2 expansion compare to, like, full games or these standalone DLCs that you can play on these other games? It's like... I had a better time with the Lemurian Vampire than the Final Shape. I had a better time with Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. I had a better time with Rebirth. I had a better time with Moon Crash. I guess I had a better time than with Animal Well because I finished it. But there were still, like... It got grindy. It was just, like, frustratingly grindy. And it never stopped being grindy. And it's just kind of the heart and soul of Destiny. Is that... You know, it lives and dies on the polish of the gunplay, of running around, and the beauty of the environments. It's again all very well put together. But and this is the one with the most heart. But it's like it doesn't have the heart that other games in this list have. So alas, I think I have to put it here, in between Moon Crash and Animal Well, because. Ultimately, I think I look more fondly on my time with Moon Crash than I do with Final Shape. Like, it was fun to come back. I used to play Destiny 2 a lot. Ironically, the last time I was laid off, I played a lot of Destiny 2. But this time, I just did not feel the drive. And, like, I had friends who were playing Destiny 2, and, like, the big witness fight that you do, that's, like, 12 people and match-made activity, that's really fun. Like, I would play that again. But, man, I don't know. I felt like we took too long to get there, you know? Like, why did it take 10 years to get to the end of this story and fight this bad guy, like, fight this, antagonist? Like, it was very well put together, but it just felt like, I don't know, we tread water for too long to get here, and that impacted the whole thing that I had with this game. It just didn't quite hit. I'm gonna stretch real quick. Nobody's been making me stretch, so I have to do it myself. Oh, popping out of my business. Hang on. A little break. We're what? Oh, I see. Retroactively, redeeming my stretch. Thank you. Let's see. We're nine games in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. I have another DLC coming up. Ugh, here we go. And this one is... I decided to wait until all the DLC was out for Final Fantasy 16. Oh, damn it, you. Fine, I'll eat the cookie. I'll eat the cookie and I'll talk about Final Fantasy 16. How? So, Final Fantasy 16. I like Final Fantasy 16. It unfortunately had a lot of steep competition last year. I think it's probably one of the better action games, and I think it's a surprisingly grounded action game. It's also definitely like an action RPG, more action than RPG, but I didn't dislike that part. And like, for better or for worse, these two DLCs, Echoes of the Fallen and The Rising Tide, right here, they are more Final Fantasy 16. If you didn't like it, these aren't going to change your mind. If you did like it, it's more. It doesn't... I want to say that the set pieces in... Like, Echoes of the Fallen is basically one big dungeon. And I like that. It's a good dungeon. It dives into some of the crazy, like, ancient tech of that setting. It's very neat. It doesn't have a huge bunch of, like, lore reveals. I think it has a really cool aesthetic and style. But it also, like... It felt like it could have just been interesting side content in the main game. The Rising Tide has I think, slightly better in that it gets you a new icon, E-I-K-O-N, for you to do. And it's a little bit more fun, I think. Yeah, FF16, yeah. Rising Tide is like a whole new area, and it has new quests, and it has new people to talk to. But it kind of has the same problem as Cosmo Canyon, where it's like, oh yeah, we're this cool civilization that's like completely cut off, and yet if they feel like they're working with like their isolationism has impacted their like technology and their ability to grow and all this stuff, and they don't have a mother crystal that they're like, you know, worrying about, and it just feels underbaked. And what is there is kind of like, really? You're doing this? So I don't know, it's good. I would say it's better than the final shape. I think what drove you off from Final Fantasy 16 is not what you want out of FF mainline game. A large part of the appeal of RPGs is group-based storytelling. Yeah, and like 16 has that in a way. Like, it's definitely focused on Clive, and Clive is a very compelling character. And you have these like guest characters that pop in and out of the story, and the story focuses on them, but it never focuses on them in a meaningful enough way for it to be not Clive's story. Like Jill especially, I think, gets a bit of a raw deal. She should have gotten better out of her story, but she didn't. I think Joshua has a interesting story going on, but again, it interweaves with Clive's story very, very closely. I can't remember the name of him, but the prince, the one who's the Bahamut icon, he's interesting, but he also, again, it's like, how do you Christmas wrap a bottle? You get a bag, get a gift bag, and then you wrap it in tissue paper. Dion, that was his name, yeah. And then you put tissue paper on top of the bag, and then boom, you're done. But yeah, Dion, I like Dion's story, but again, it's like it's all just kind of like irrelevant because Clive's showed up, and now his story dominates everybody else's. True, everything is easier to wrap with a big enough box. There's actually, if it's a wine bottle, you can just get those. There's like big wine bottle bags that you can get at grocery stores, and then you just put a little tissue paper on top, and like boom, nice tall bottle bag. People will be able to guess what it is based on that, but if it's not a wine bottle, then they'll be surprised. But yeah, it's sad how awkward it feels when she and Sid are in your party and somehow it feels like they barely interact. Yeah, for like Jill and Sid to have been so like their stories are so aligned, they're parallel, but it's not, they don't really like talk very much. I wanted more party banter, I guess. Like, if you're gonna make me do an action game, put in some party banter. Like, do a Dragon Age. But because you never get to choose who's in your party, who's not in it, which is also a very Final Fantasy thing to do. Like, you know, fucking Rebirth does that. Remake does the whole game. It just decides for you who is in your party or not. And Rebirth lets you actually choose. But like in 16, it's the Clive show. You can't play anybody but Clive. And whether or not you like Clive is basically whether or not you like Final Fantasy 16. And the thing is like these games, these DLCs, they don't really like change that in any meaningful way. And Clive's story is too bolted down to the main game's like arc that it's really hard to play these. And you like have to play them at the end of the game because they're kind of built mechanically for late game levels. And you're supposed to basically go all the way up to the point of no return and then do these. And so it's kind of like, why are we here? So it has some structural problems, I think. It definitely makes sense. I think it would have made more sense to have it as kind of like an expansion pack. Or like I don't know. I think Final Fantasy 16 with these included makes for a more interesting game, but like it doesn't know what to do pacing wise, which is also an issue with 16 in general. 16's pacing is very awkward. So yeah, I mean, I didn't regret it. I enjoyed my time. I would actually say I think I liked it more than Moon Crash, because I like playing 16. I like the mechanics. I like the action game mechanics. I like the like balancing cooldowns that it does, and you can do some real Devil May Cry shit if you really try hard enough. And it rewards you with like very flashy effects and quick combats, and you like the gameplay of it is excellent. The storytelling is pretty good. It's unsubtle. It's trying a little bit too hard to be Game of Thrones, and it tends to like all of any thematic relevance that a lot of other characters would have just kind of falls away when Clive shows up, and then you have a big boss fight. But hey, they're good boss fights. It's true. So yeah, that's where I'm at. It's good. It's fine. It's more Final Fantasy 16 if you like Final Fantasy 16. It's an easy recommendation. It's worth the money if you want to play more Final Fantasy 16, and you don't want to do more of that bullshit side quests that, like, the hunts are fun, but you know there's only so many hunts you can do. You want more stuff? Get it. Where are we at? Sagrada. I'm gonna say Sagrada. So this is like an adaptation of a board game. I think I had on my wish list for years, and then one day it was on sale for like $2. I was like, okay, I'll get it. And it was another one of those like, I needed a breather from this big game that I was playing. It was probably, you know, Rebirth, or it's a bunch of Echoes of the Fallen or Paper Mario or something. I don't know. I was just like, it's just nice to sit back, relax, and you roll a bunch of d6, and it's like stained glass window building. It's very here. Let me see if I can find some Sagrada gameplay. Get out of here, mister. Let's see. I don't want to learn how to play. Don't know, like, Sagrada PC gameplay. Here we go. First look gameplay. I'm gonna mute this. Sorry, everybody. Is Glinda good? I mean, that's a big question. But yeah, I'll just skim through here. All right. Come on, get it. Galinda. Galinda. I watched Wicked yesterday. We can talk about that. That's one of my recommendations. That's probably a video. I was in the middle of watching this one. Somebody argued that Glinda is the Megyn Kelly of Wicked Universe, and I'm like, I'm not ready to unpack that. So yeah, you go back and forth between these like these two players, is you and the computer player, and you have these like goals. And so what you're doing is you roll these d6s a bunch, and you get to a point where you have to like put them somewhere, and they have to match the color on the grid, or they have to match the number, and you're just going back and forth trying to fill this stuff out. And the more that you fill out with your dice, and the more like special rules that you do, you get more points. So it's very board gamey. It was a Wicked. How much space did I hold? I held no space. I don't believe in holding space. I think holding space is homophobic, actually. And if you confront me on that, I'll block you. I'll block you with a cinder block. That's what I mean when I block things. So you have your window and the opponent has their window. And so you go back and forth, kind of like taking these dice and putting them in. Let's go faster. Let's do 2 times speed, baby. Let's go. You can see. I'll jump in the middle here, maybe. Boom. Yeah, you can see there's more stuff going on. There's like special power-ups at the bottom. There's special rules for bonus points that you get, and these little extra things. You're going back and forth. You're putting these, colors and numbers and D6s everywhere. Well, she is in queer media. Oh, that's true. That is so much to unpack. It's true. But yeah, makes sense as it was. It's very fun. Yeah, I enjoy my time with it, but it's also, again, like, it's a game. Like, it's good. It's a palate cleanser, I would say. It's a nice, like, mechanics forward, no story, just visuals and gameplay, and classic rolling of dice. You get victory points. It's very board gamey, and because it is a board game. This is just the digital version of the board game versus you and your opponent, who's always named Anthony, I guess. We'll jump ahead again. Get out of here. Here we go. Yeah, you can see more of this going on. So you get the picture. It's good. If you get a certain pattern, you get bonus points. It's nothing terribly special, I would say. But it's good. In fact, I would even say, I put it pretty low. Not because it's bad, but just because it's not striving for any particular greatness beyond being a good adaptation of a board game that's popular, but nothing terribly special. So I'd actually probably put it just above Animal Well. Oh boy. Okay, here's some opinions. So shortly after that, I had to do some traveling, and I got my Switch out, and I got 2 different kind of mystery games. I got Famicom Detective Club, and I got Ace Attorney Investigations. And Ace Attorney Investigations is both of the Miles Edgeworth games that were for DS originally. And Famicom Detective Club was their remakes of visual novels for the NES, where you're like this high schooler who's, a detective. And you're in the detective club or whatever of your high school, or you make the detective club, and you intern for an actual detective who I played one of the 2 games. I played The Missing Heir, and you know what? I hate to say it, I don't think it's very good. I don't think it's good. It's a very faithful remake of a game that did not need a faithful remake. Famicom Detective Club, I wanted to like it so bad, but it is maxed out on this concept of oh, you have to talk to this NPC 3 times, or you have to go to this other room and then come back to notice that this character has changed where they're sitting in the room or whatever, or you have to show them this picture after you talk to them about this thing. And it's just extremely obtuse pathing logically through a system, and it's really frustrating. I should hydrate again, because I can't remember whether I actually did hydrate for Himbro's Redeem, but I'm doing it now. The story, the sad thing is, I think The Missing Heir's story is interesting. It's just told in a very annoying way, and it's really annoying. Really annoying. I remember after a certain point, I gave up and I just started looking up a guide, because the guide was just, and then at that point, I'm just getting in the way of reading a book or a visual novel, at least like a visual novel that doesn't have exploration or investigation or anything like that. It's it's one of those games that history important, a bunch of annoying things that other people copied. Exactly. I can understand why, these designers would be like, oh, you should do this so that because, you want to talk to this character, you need to badger this person essentially into giving you the information you need. Or, you need to present you know the issue with like every Ace Attorney game where if you're stuck you just start like presenting every item to everyone. That's the mode this game is constantly in. You are just like, if you don't have the immediate, if you don't think the way that the designers think about what the obvious next goal is or what the obvious next thing to do, and there's no objective marker, like there's ostensibly like a thing that you're supposed to be doing, but like sometimes you just have to go back to the, you know, your apartment and talk to this guy at the apartment, or you have to go back to the, you know, the scene of the crime and look at it and then, you know, click the remember button. Yes, I remember what happened here. Oh, I have a new perspective because of the new things that I found. Well, how am I supposed to like know to go back there? Nobody ever gives you any like leads to be like, go back to the scene of the crime or go back to the, you know, the mansion where the victim's family lives or whatever. It was one of those things that like, I enjoyed the story. I just wish it was a book or a VN like that didn't have branching paths or require me to move from place to place. It's like, just, and this is kind of, I say this because as a guy who's only finished some of Umineko, and I will get back to it, but it's one of the things that I think Umineko does better, which is just like, it gets rid of all the nonsense where you have to move from place to place and see things and, you know, move from the living room to the conservatory so you can discover the body. It's like, you can just, things happen, you rush to them, the things happen in front of you, you're part of the narrative. Whereas this one, like, Famicom Detective Club, just, it's important. I think Sahoni really put it best there. It's important. It's more important than it is good. It's not a fun game to play in 2024, which is why I was like, when the new one got announced, it was like Emio the Smiling Man, I think. Which was like the third Famicom Detective Club game, and the Metroid guy, you know, he wrote Sakamoto, I think. Like he was, you know, essential for the original games and for these remakes and for like Metroid Dread and for, you know, the new Emio the Smiling Man one. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna ramp up to this new one because like now they must have had some traction on these like first two remakes. They're adding a new one in the series. That's going to be great. Going to be great. It wasn't. I just didn't have a good time. And now I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to get the other ones. I don't think I'm going to waste my time. Because, like, 2 weeks after I played this, I played Ace Attorney Investigations. Another remake of two mystery games from an older franchise. And while it has some of the issues that Ace Attorney games tend to have, and the fact that it doesn't have courtroom scenes, it's all just investigation and putting things together, it kind of solves the pacing problem that Ace Attorney has, where you're just rushing through the investigation and talking to everybody, and you want to collect all of your evidence and your items so that you can get to the solve part, which is the trial. Well, this one you go back and forth between solving and investigating and solving and investigating, and it actually balances out much better, I think, like than Ace Attorney games of the typical variety, because it's just going back and forth. The loop is shorter, and so because you're going back and forth so much, it's more engaging, and you're not getting hung up on like you lose out on, I think, some of the elements of discovering everything happening, like unpacking it bit by bit when there's a big mystery that's being unpacked. But there's enough going on that you're like, oh man, I'm really digging deep. I'm really like, things are going crazy here. What's happening? It'd be interesting to see what it would learn, if anything, from decades of VN mystery horror design, or if it tries to evoke the old school feel. Yeah, that actually, like Famicom Detective Club, the best parts of it were when things were closest to horror. Like whether it was, oh, people think that this, you know, there's actually a ghost cursing the town, and there's this ghost that's murdering people, and it's, you know, a vengeful ghost that's mad at the family, and you're like, well, that can't be real. But then you like get into these moments where you're like, oh my god, am I about to get killed by the ghost? And then you like, you know, it passes, and then you wake up the next morning and you find out there's a body, and you're like, oh my god. That's when it's at its best. And like there's a puzzle at the very end of The Missing Heir where you have to like follow this riddle, and it's like a first person, you know, grid based exploration, like classic dungeon crawling, but it's just items interacting and stuff like that. Yeah, it's something that like that was Famicom Detective Club at its best, and I can see why they wanted to lean into that like horror element of it for the Smiling Man, but it was the first game left such a bad taste in my mouth. I'm like, I don't think I want to go back to that. Ace Attorney Investigations 2, maybe the best Ace Attorney game. Oh, Paranormicite, yeah. Oh, okay, I'll get back to Ace Attorney in just a sec. But Paranormicite, I played that last year. That was excellent. I was really into that. I definitely recommend it. Another game that's on here that reminded me a lot of Paranormicite is AI: The Somnium Files, and so I'll probably talk about it a little bit more when I get there. But I definitely enjoyed Paranormicite quite a bit. Good taste. Sahoni in the chat having good taste yet again. I'm not surprised. Ace Attorney Investigations. What was about? Yeah, you go back and forth a lot. The gameplay loop's a lot shorter. You really discover information. It becomes immediately relevant. It's so like it's just so it's the momentum is so much stronger in Ace Attorney Investigations, which is why I'm gonna put it right here. It's better than Rebirth. Better than Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's not quite Lemurian Vampire, which, you know, considering they're both kind of like mystery, deduction, information seeking games, I think just the basic structure of the Case of the Golden Idol games, and therefore this DLC is stronger than Ace Attorney, and that's partly because Ace Attorney Investigations is still kind of like leaning on that, you know, present evidence, press statements, and so on kind of structure that Ace Attorney games have to do. And so there's a bit of a ceiling, like I guess a quality ceiling on Ace Attorney, but like this one gets real close to that ceiling. And the fact that you get like two of probably the best games in the franchise packaged into one, and that the second one having never released in English officially, which I never got to play the fan translation patch, so playing the second one, I'm like, damn, this is good shit. There's some real I would say extremely adventure game moments that kind of hamper it a little bit, like put the toilet paper on the stick and now you have a flag. Wow. like that's some real backwards. That's adventure game logic is what it is. Did I play Great Ace Attorney? I did. I played both Great Ace Attorney games on release in 2021. I remember because I was playing them during my wedding. Like, not during the wedding ceremony, but like after the day of the wedding, I was like, I'm so tired. I just want to go home and play Great Ace Attorney. Quality ceiling, how dare. I mean, well, the thing is, like, unless you're willing to bend the rules of what the design is, of the, like, you know, you have to break things a little bit to move past the structure that you've already put in place. And, you know, the nature of this being a remake and a remaster or whatever, like, I'm so glad they included the original pixel art. It's so the pixel art's so charming in that game. I understand why you want to maybe, you know, make it look pretty if you want your super sharp anime lines, but I think the pixel art is really quite beautiful, and you should go for that if you're interested at all. All right, we're getting into fall and winter of this year, which is when things start really popping off, including Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. That was the biggest surprise. I was shocked when they announced it. Was like, not only are we getting a Zelda game after, like, the year after Tears of the Kingdom, which I really liked. Like, I mean, again, that probably could have been Game of the Year for me last year, if not for Baldur's Gate. Echoes of Wisdom is really fun, you guys. The problem is it's kind of a bad Zelda game in that if you're used to playing these top-down Zeldas as Link with your sword and your arrows and your stuff like that, if you don't get away from that mentality, it's hard to enjoy this game. But if you do get away from that mentality, you're gonna have a good time. If you treat, like, Zelda, like, Echoes of Wisdom is kind of a game that wants you to min-max it. It wants you to find the most overpowered echoes, and the act of finding those echoes is what makes it very fun. It's very, like, emergent. Bad. Bed? Oh, bed. I think it's bad for a second. Highlight Brawler, welcome to the chat. I was like, bad? What? No. Bed. Legend of Belda. Echoes of Bed. Bedda? Bed is the only thing you need. It's true. And I wasn't even on stream. You guys probably... I didn't know you could lay in bed and restore your health. Bed accomplishes everything. And then you find better beds that restore health faster. But original old bed is really, like, it's incredible for both height and horizontal traversal. And there's, like, crazy stuff that you can do. Like, it is a game, it very much follows in the, like, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom kind of mentality, if not, like, vibe, where you're, like, you're looking at everything in your toolkit and you're going, how can I solve this problem? Oh my god. I have to eat another cookie. How can you do this? I can't believe it's been 25 minutes already. Alright. Okay, talk amongst yourselves. How... Bye, Falden. Have a good night. Well, holding my hand in front of my mouth. The camera is not audible. How... Anyway. Zelda. The bed game. I like it. The thing is, I like it more... Man, this is tough. So, the story does kind of some interesting things, but it never aspires to be anything more than, like, a regular Zelda game story. Which I did think that some of the more recent games have had greater ambitions with some of that. I don't know. It's fallen short in some ways. I still think Ganondorf could have been written better. I think he could have been a lot more interesting. But it was cool that he got the, like, visual and thematic focus that he got in Tears of the Kingdom. Even if he's still just a nasty man. But, I don't know. Echoes of Wisdom... kind of like the most interesting parts of its story are in the beginning, where it's like, oh, well, now you're playing as Zelda, and what does that mean? And as that, you know, the ramifications of that kind of ripple out, and then all of a sudden you just kind of become the hero, it's not that important to the story. And especially once you get towards the end, it's like, okay, well, it's not Ganon, because Ganon is his own thing. I won't go into why. It's interesting, and I guess it has, like, lore implications, but I don't know. The Zelda timeline does not engage me. It is not that interesting. I feel like if you want really to make an interesting thing going on with your story in a Zelda game, it should be interesting in the individual game, not, you know, like, oh, what does this say about how the 3 goddesses work in Hyrule? Like, I don't know, man. There's, like, 14 versions of Hyrule. There's 3 timelines. Nintendo can't even figure out what these timelines are. It's nonsense. How many Zelda games take place in a dream dimension? More than one. You've been told to tell me you made a new monster race for the new D&D. Not officially this time. Didn't finish your game jam in time, so I might just hand it out to patrons as an apology. I'm very happy. I'm excited. I would love to know more about this monster race. I should sign up for your Patreon when I have money again. I had to break off a lot of my Patreon because recurring revenue from my bank account, not a good idea right now. But I really would like to support. Soon I will support. Keeping that optimism going. Where would I put this? I should rank this. I've talked about it enough. Where am I putting Zelda Echoes of Wisdom? I'm going to put it high B. Still not quite Lemurian Vampire, I would say. I think I love how Lemurian Vampire is like the bar that they have to clear. Are you better than this indie game DLC in order to get to the A tier? I liked it quite a bit. It's a wonderful sandbox. There are so many ways to solve your problems in Echoes of Wisdom, but because there are so many ways to solve your problems, and because you you can find many reliable ways of solving your problems. It doesn't challenge you to like work around limitations very often. It can get boring once you figure out how to solve things. And I think it's great for people like me who love to go out and explore and do the side quest and then come back to the main quest when I absolutely have to. Because it like you feel so much more powerful and you feel so much more engaged with the world by the time that you come back for the main quest line. You know, you feel like it's really rewarding you for having done that. The problem is that if you want to, there's so many different ways that Zelda games have been and so many different structures they've had, and if you're the kind of person who really likes the linear Ocarina of Time dungeon gauntlet with a little bit of overworld, probably not gonna like this that much. You know, you're gonna find new stuff, but once you find like the old standby that gets you through everything, and sometimes that's bad, sometimes it's not. You need a combat, you need a monster buddy to get you through combat. But once you find a really good monster, it's hard not to just use that monster over and over and then kind of just wait for them to finish. And then there's the mode where you like activate your magic and you turn into Link for like 30 seconds or whatever, which I was kind of annoyed that they left that in. I felt like they were just, this is for people who can't handle playing Zelda and they need to play Link instead. I'm like, well, okay, I guess. And then they make it part of some puzzles, so you're forced to engage with that, even though it's like, I wish this could have been more of its own thing. In terms of like the developers, like these developers have done a lot of remakes of Zelda games. They did both of the Wii U remakes. They did the Link's Awakening remake on Switch, and that's why it has the same like aesthetic. I really am excited to see what they do. I think they should be allowed to do more and be unshackled and make new Zelda games, you know, in parallel with what's going on with other development teams. Like whoever, I don't know which team worked on Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I might be like EAD1, but I never remember code names. Grezzo is the name of the studio that did Echoes of Wisdom and these previous remakes, and I look forward to seeing what they do more with it. What do we got next? Tactical Breach Wizards. This was a gift to me from my dear friend Neil, and I had heard about it, and I was like, this seems neat. It was from the same developer as Gunpoint, I believe. Oh yeah. I mean, like, so full disclosure, I played this on stream right before Metaphor ReFantazio came out, and we'll get to Metaphor. And I loved it, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go right back to this. And then after I finished Metaphor, I was like, I had to play Dragon Age, and Dragon Age is another fuck-ass long video game. And I finished Dragon Age, and I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? I gotta go back to something. And I was like, oh, Tactical Breach Wizards, I should play more of that on stream. So I guess I won't play it. And only until like a couple of days ago did I start playing it again. And Gunpoint and Heat Signature, that was the other one. I couldn't remember Heat Signature. I wanted to say FTL, but that was not it. You feel like you can always count on that team to deliver something that is kinetically active, puzzly, and playfully sharp. Yes. That's the vibe I get from Tactical Breach Wizards. Like, this is the most recent game I've played because I came back to it after a long time. It was very easy to pick back up, and it was another one of those like, oh, I am piecing these things together. There's a bajillion ways to solve the objective. There's fewer but more interesting ways to solve all the bonus objectives. And I'm always like, I gotta do it. And because they reward you with currency that unlocks outfits for your units, I was super into that. I was like, damn, I gotta get more confidence. I gotta. And so I did. And then, I don't know, the more I play it, the more I like it. I haven't finished it yet. I have a feeling I will, probably pretty soon. I'm more than halfway through. I can't imagine it going poorly from here. Like, it can't nosedive unless it goes really different, and nothing I've heard has said that, so I feel very confident in putting this pretty high on my list. I'm gonna put it all the way, I'm gonna put it above Paper Mario. Sorry, Paper Mario. Sorry, Mario. The outfit currency, yeah, I love that, like, they even imply, like, you need confidence because you already own these outfits, but you need the confidence to pull them off, and that's how you get confidence by doing bonus objectives. You're very good at gift, Neil. I should also note, I have another fun a game called Monsters Expedition that I would really like to play, but I'm saving that for a stream, and that was from Kirill. I had it on my wish list. It was one of those things that I found through the typing game. The monkey type, I have it right here. Monkey type, this one. And one of the quotes was from Monsters Expedition. I was like, wow, that was really insightful. And then I checked out the game, and it's like a very cozy, like Steven's Sausage Roll kind of puzzle game that's apparently not as hard as Steven's Sausage Roll. So I'll probably play that on stream pretty soon. I want to play it on stream. But yeah, you did. Neil wins the 2024 gift award because Tactical Breach Wizards is very good. I highly recommend it. The writing is very sharp. It's very funny. It feels like it takes itself just the right amount of seriously, which is like these characters kind of understand the absurdity of the world that they live in, and the world building is complete and interesting enough that I'm like consistently engaged with it. Like I'm at this point where I'm in a new zone where there's this big religious oligarchy essentially, and they want to start a war. So we want to stop that. We want to stop the wars from happening. You know, that's kind of what we're here for. But the fact that like the production design and the level design and the where windows are set up, like this game teaches you how to defenestrate properly. The defenestration is a key part of this, and throwing things out of windows, especially enemies, is just extremely rewarding. I don't know why the main characters act like defenestrating people doesn't kill them. They think that for some reason that's just knocking them out, and I'm a little bit like, fellas, we have thrown people out of moving trains. They are not going to live. Yeah. Playfully irreverent and painfully insightful all at the same time is an excellent way to put this game's writing vibe, I would say. Its style and tone. Because it doesn't minimize the thing that you're doing. It doesn't minimize the actions or the stakes, but it does play up the absurdity of like, how did we even get here? That kind of thing. She casted gravity charm on the windows. They lowered to the ground slowly. Well, if you say so, I believe you. I might have missed that line of dialogue because I was just like, I gotta get to the next map. It's freaking dread. I will also say, I think Tactical Breach Wizards does an excellent job of feeling like the way that like the best kind of D&D grid combat is. It's like the like movement, move action, action, and then like a bonus thing, or like stuff that doesn't require a currency, but you can do it like 2 or 3 times an encounter. That kind of stuff is so close to like the nitty-gritty of D&D tactics that I think that Tactical Breach Wizards really nails the best feelings that you get out of a really good like D&D encounter. And it's so hard to make good D&D encounters because you never know when the party's just going to roll up and be like, oh yeah, I picked out this spell that just kind of negates the whole thing. And as a GM, I'm like, oh, fuck. I mean, my players have done that even outside of D&D. They just kind of roll up and be like, yeah, I deal unaffiliated damage to this thing, even though it's immune to all damage types. I was like, okay. I thought I worked around that somehow. We'll see. Anyways, Tactical Breach Wizards, very good. Real goatee contender, I will say. Looking at you, old person, exactly. Old person. So that's the thing. The nice thing about D&D is that as soon as your players start doing something stupid, that gives you as the DM the ability to use that bullshit on them. And if they don't have a way to work around it, that's their problem. All right, it's time. We're into the crazy shit here. We have a lot of stuff going on. You soul steal one time and defuse the entire boss fight. Well, I'll get to you, mister. I'm looking at you. I've got my eyes on you. Metaphor, Refantasio. This game's really fucking good, you guys. It's a really good game. Metaphor Fantasio fixes every issue that I've ever had with every Persona game. It fixes the problem of the opening being too slow. I think the opening is interesting from the start. It's still a bit of a slow roll. You're still getting into it. It fixes the issue of social links and how it feels like you're constantly squeezed for time and you can't hit everyone. Just the way that this game is paced out, it gives you more tools to be efficient with your time, and to if you really want to min-max it, you'd like they just lay it out right in front of you, like this is the min-max way. You know, it's maybe not like highlighted, but like it only it's like a 2 + 2 = 4 moment. You're just like, oh, I see. If I do this and that, I don't have to go back and rest. I can just heal up and I can keep going after, as long as I do this thing that refills my mana. And it doesn't take much to find that. And doing the side content like is a reasonable thing that you can do. You can do all of the side content, and you can do all of your social links. And the social links are, I guess they're follower bonds in this game. Those are like imperative to character growth. So you want to do those. They unlock new classes essentially, and higher level classes. And so like it's like what Sahoni said about Paper Mario and how all of the systems interlock and interact with each other in really interesting ways. And the crazy thing is, Metaphor Fantasio it fixes every issue that I've had with Fire Emblem games. Like, to me, this game is the pinnacle of what a quote-unquote Fire Emblem Persona game should be. And they did it with like you had Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which I will finish on stream someday. And it's its own thing, you know, it's doing its own thing, it's whatever. And then you had Fire Emblem Three Houses. And, you know, again, it's kind of like, well, there's some really cool ideas. They took some Persona things, there's a calendar system, you know, but ultimately it's still very much a Fire Emblem game. Metaphor just takes the fantasy concept and runs with it so hard. As a giant love letter to everything the devs not only love in fantasy, but JRPG specifically. Yes! It's the JRPG what All-Star Superman was to Superman. Yeah! I mean, I assume. I don't follow comics very well. But that sounds like an apt comparison. I trust you. Metaphor's really good. Like, really good. If there's one game that I really recommend this year, it's probably Metaphor, for anybody who even likes JRPGs just a little bit. It's very flashy. The music is excellent. The UI is incredible. The art style is really good. Like, it shores up all of its weaknesses. Like, visually, I think the environments can look a little bland, but the way that they add this kind of like texture is an in-world fiction of the Magla, kind of like hovering in certain spots, like hovering in the air essentially. And then that one little texture with all of these little polygons just floating around in the world makes everything look a little bit deeper and a little bit more interesting. In conclusion, he Metaphor on my Fantasio Tele social link. It's true. Yes. I can gush about this game for hours, and I need to stop. So I'm gonna put it's very I'm putting it up in here. It's up here. It's right next to Balatro, is what I'll say. It's right next to it. I put it slightly to the left because it's my shit. But yeah, it's so. What's wrong with all these mechanics and story elements anyway? Why can't we make meaningful stories, engaging gameplay? These still mean things, exactly. It's so good. And I've heard some people say that it has pacing issues towards the end, but I mean, I think that more comes from the characters themselves saying, this is it, our final battle. We're gonna do it, our final battle. I'm like, my buddy, I know this game is going to be going into October, and it is not even mid-September yet. Like, the calendar, like, if you go into that game knowing that the end of October is probably close to the end of the game, which I think is a fair thing to assume based on the in-game calendar and how it works, like, you'll have a great understanding of how far you are in that story. And every character that is important enough to have like an animated portrait, has their own opinion of how the world should work, and has their own opinion about like the way that you like the idealized democracy that's in the fake fantasy, you know, novel or whatever. The end game, like the last, I want to say 3 hours of that game, spectacular, incredible final boss fight, like truly JRPG, high level shit. Final Fantasy 13 fans, if you liked Bartandalus and Orphan, you are going to be very happy with Metaphor's like final boss visual design. It's very cool. And like there's a couple like, oh, this is very much the final dungeon. I'm like, yeah, but is it though? Yeah, you know what it means. You're gonna know what the real boss fight's gonna be. And yeah, I don't know. It's good. It's very good. The music is good. It's just this team is firing on all cylinders. I think it's better than Astrobot, but I didn't play Astrobot this year, so it's not on my list. I think the Game Awards were wrong. I think Metaphor is better. Sorry, not sorry. Anyways, boy, all right, time to talk about Dragon Age. Dragon Age, yeah. Death to vague dialogue wheels. Video game derogatory. The worst parts of Dragon Age make me want to put it here. And the sad thing is, I think the game starts very poorly. And I think it starts poorly and it ends poorly. Maybe not ends poorly, but there's a lot of stuff in the last, like, I want to say 2 or 3 hours of that game that are really frustrating. The middle part, when you have these small moments with the party members, when you start to really dig into their stories, it feels like I'm back playing Inquisition again, or I'm playing Dragon Age 2 or something like that. Like earlier games in the franchise that really taught me about like, oh, this is a really compelling story, and I really like how the way the narrative influences the mechanics of my gameplay. The problem is, it's been 10 years since Inquisition came out, and we've had 10 years worth of games to really think about what this should be, and what does it mean for narrative to influence gameplay and mechanics and stuff like that. And role-playing games are uniquely skilled at that, because they're very bare bones, not bare bones, but like they're exposed structure. Like you can see the math happening in RPGs that you don't see happening in other games. Like there's math happening in platformers, there's math happening in action games and Uncharted's and stuff like that you're not seeing. But RPGs like to put that math front and center. It makes you confront that. It makes you engage with that. And you don't need to be like a math wizard to do that. But just like, man. Yeah. What is it? What'd you say, Sony? You just would say you only like Astrobot more, so-called free-thinking game designer brain. I do want to play Astrobot. I might pick it up. I heard it's on sale, I think, for Game of the Year. I might pick it up before too long. I can't stream it because it's on PS5, and my home network doesn't let me do that properly, especially with like a real-time kind of game. But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 took Dragon Age's lunch on purpose, ate in front of them, and then fucked a bear. Yeah. The sad thing is, everything that Dragon Age does wrong reminds me of games that have done it better. And it's not like, oh, I could see where this could have gone. But I was ready to put Dragon Age in like high B tier for a long time when I was playing it. I think there was a plot twist towards the end that sucks. It's a plot twist that if you've played the game, you probably know what I'm talking about. It happens kind of like after the point of no return, in between a couple of missions, when you're really at your like quote unquote lowest moment. And when that happened, I was like, all of the wind came out of my sails. Like, oh, great. And it was a plot twist that had really no ramification on the story itself. It's supposed to make you hate another character and cry over another character, but like the stakes haven't changed. Nothing has changed. And you're just supposed to be sad. I'm like, okay. Inquisition's still so good. I'm so mad that Veilguard up and stole the other game combat instead of refining CRPG controls like most people wanted. Yeah, it's confusing because BioWare made Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Well, I mean, those are different people at this point. Like, the BioWare of 2024 is probably like... You know how, like, all the cells in your body, like, are different cells every 11 years? Like, that's just the way that your body, like, regenerates cells as it grows and ages and so on. And it, like, sheds all these other cells and kills them off and repurposes, blah, 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 blah. Biology. That's, like, BioWare in this year of our Lord is just not the same studio. It's not even the same studio that made, like, Mass Effect 3. Like, that was 10 years ago. It's a very different thing. Yeah. Very much a reminder that games are made by people, not companies. Yeah, the all is lost moment. God. I was so mad about that. Oh. That being said, I do have to respect that Dragon Age, the Veilguard, is really quite an excellent action RPG. And the skill tree is very thoughtfully designed. I think that it does tend to kind of push you towards one of 3 directions depending on what class you're playing. And so there's like 9 different games in there if you just focus on action mechanics alone. And I really did quite like that. And as a piece of software, I had no problems with it. Like, no bugs, which is shocking because Inquisition had a ton of bugs, especially on release. And Veilguard did not have that issue. The art style is polarizing. It is, I would say, consistently executed. It is well enough. It is good enough that, like, it deserves to be recognized as a pretty decent game. I would call it like an 8 out of 10, basically. That being said, I don't know. I have a hard time putting it in B tier because B is for better than most. And I don't think it's better than most RPGs that came out this year. I think it's pretty on par. It's a solid acceptable. So I would actually put it in front of the FF16 DLC. It is top of the C tier, which is unfortunate for a franchise that I'm so used to putting in A tier, basically. You heard they had very good accessibility features. Yes, it's very good accessibility features. One of the reasons why it's down here in C tier is, like, the game has really good accessibility features, but the writing, like, it feels like they're trying to make writing accessible in some way. Like, the non-binary storyline with Tosh was just so hammy. Like, you compare Tosh's story to Dorian's from Inquisition, and you just they're on different leagues. Like Dorian's story and the way it connects to the world, even the way that Dorian's story, like, even the way that the Kunari story connects to the trans character you don't get to play as, Krem, I think his name was, but, like, Iron Bull and Krem have their own dynamic, and it's like it's more willing to interrogate gender politics and compare, like, a completely fictional world's gender politics to the one that's, like, ostensibly, oh, we're basing this on, you know, real attitudes from the past or whatever. They're Dorian. Yeah. DA has never done queer writing good, and your hater has opinions. See all their bi characters. Yeah, I'm very back and forth. Dorian's story, their story, and I still think Dorian's story is very, very compelling. I think it is a diamond in the rough, though. I think that in Dragon Age 2, when they made all the characters, like, player sexual, like, I go back and forth a lot on player sexual characters, because on the one hand, I don't think that a player character's chosen gender should really affect your ability to have a meaningful, you know, fictional relationship. On the other hand, it's weird that literally everybody should be bi. That's kind of how it is. I wish they could make it in a way so that, like, choosing a queer relationship adds a level of queerness to it, rather than giving you just a swap in pronouns. That's one of my issues with it. And that's more work than they probably could feasibly do for 7 different romanceable characters. I romanced Emmerich in Dragon Age Veilguard. I don't regret it. I thought it was pretty interesting. I think that was the right choice, because I think a lot of people were hoping for something more with these other characters, and they didn't quite get it. Emmerich has a much better vibe. I don't know. I'm an old gay at this point, and he's an old gay, and he comments about how like my rook is young, but I'm like, no man, we're here together. I'm here for the gay necromancer. I know what you're up. You picked up Inquisition, the Steam sale, because Ironbull is a really interesting character. I gotta say, like, he's very hot, hands down. He's very hot, but also there's a lot going on with that guy, and I like that. Also, Himbro redeemed eat a Christmas cookie. He demands it, so I shall do it. I shall eat the cookie. You like how Colin lets you down easy? You want to romance him, making a love potion so it's morally gray to change them. I'm biggin'. You're fattening me up. You better not be cooking me. There better not be some funny business going on here. Anyways, Dragon Age does have some redeeming parts. It is unfortunately just not the franchise that it was 10 years ago. And I am more interested in what the people who worked on those previous games are doing than what BioWare is doing at this point. You know, maybe BioWare... Like, I heard that they, after David Gator left, writing was not as big of a focus at BioWare, and he kind of like, I don't know, kind of like called them out, but nothing really came of it. I don't know. Drama was happening, but non-derogatory, like, things probably needed to be said, and they need to stop having executives meddle. Just let people make games. Pay people to make games. Pay them well. Let them make the game. Let them finish it. Don't rush it. And let the writers be part of what's going on. That's what I say. You need to make cookies tomorrow. Apple cinnamon oatmeal cookies. That sounds delicious. I just have shortbread cookies here. I gotta finish this cookie. Oh. Anyway, that's enough Dragon Age talk. Ember. Ember's a fun game that I played off stream with Neil and Kiro. I think we only played it for a little bit. I played it enough to feel, I would say that it's fun. It's one of those kind of like gag co-op games. You basically, it's a dystopian kind of hellscape where firefighters are now in the gig economy, and you are one of those. You're a gig economy firefighter, and you are delivered to a site, and you are supposed to save people and save their belongings and stop the fire. If you can. If you can't do that, then let the fire burn the building down. Most of the time, the fire will burn the building down because you can't stop it. Tinder, but for firefighters. Yeah, exactly. It's a fun one. It has a great sense of humor. There's a new mode they added recently where you also have to deliver food, like Uber Eats. So you have to save people, but after you deliver their food. So you have to get them their food, and then it'll take them out of the building. And it's so ridiculous. It's very fun. It's a big laugh. It's, probably, I would say, somewhere between 8 and 10 hours of a really good time. I don't know if it has staying power for the way that a lot of other like live service games kind of do. Oh right, the evil rival Canadian firefighters, Hoser. And they have a really very strong Canadian accent when they're trying to eliminate the competition and the boss fights. There's a lot of fun stuff going on, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. In fact, it knows not to take itself too seriously. I would probably put it in B tier at being confident in what it wants to be. I would put it behind Roller Coaster Tycoon because it's not quite as classic, but I would put it above Dragon Age because Dragon Age kind of overreached and it had trouble sticking the landing, whereas I feel like Ember sticks the landing. It is what it is. It knows what it wants to be. When I think of, that's coming up. Ember's good. I would call it pretty good. It's if you're looking for a fun co-op time, grabbing a like a 2 or 3 or 4 pack on Steam and giving them to your friends. Like we got it for pretty cheap. It's a fun time. It's worth doing. And it's not overstaying its welcome. AI the Somnium Files. Here we are. We're getting into it, baby. I really liked it, actually. I think I can't remember the name of the writer of this one, but the guy, the Zero Escape writer. I mean, it's easy it's easy whatever game comes after Zero Time Dilemma, that game is so interestingly imperfect and beautifully flawed. I love it even if I don't really like it. Whereas AI the Somnium Files, it's doing kind of the Paradise Killer kind of thing, where it's all one big mystery, but there's a lot of like sub mysteries, and you go into people's heads to analyze their dreams in order to find information, but you only have 6 minutes to do it. But that's more of a currency than it is an actual timer. It's very campy, but I agree, it's fun. It's fun campy. It's another one of those games that like it just barely knows how serious to take itself. It almost crosses the line so many times, but then you're like, oh, Date, you only have 6 minutes. Get ready to hear. You only have 6 minutes on your Date. 5 minutes. Date. 4 minutes. Over and over and over again. However, I think it does the branching paths that like Zero Escape did in a new way. That's very fun. It all comes down to like the dreamscapes that you're in, and using kind of like dream visions to hint at a mystery was very cool. You can't really take any of the information that you find in the dream for granted, and because of that, it kind of pulls you deeper into the mystery that's going on. I feel like the ultimate mystery, once you do enough of the other like endings and routes and stuff, it becomes pretty clear. But it's also like you should have all of the pieces to figure it out, and so when it all comes together and they start laying it out for you, it's like, okay, I see where this fits in now. I see what you're doing. Okay, and the characters are very compelling. The cute characters are cute. I think sometimes they get a little grating. Like Ota got annoying after a while. I was kind of glad that I did his route first, because I would have been pretty sad, or I would have been pretty like annoyed by him if not for the fact that I saw his like backstory very early on, and his like family backstory specifically. Overall, I think it's an excellent game. I would actually put it probably either high B, low A. I think I'd put it behind Lemurian Vampire, because there's a lot of telling going on in this game, and it does. The dreamscapes remind me a lot of Paranormal Sight, which we've talked about earlier, in that like whenever you're like looking around at like non-dreamscapes, I should say, regular ass settings, you look around, you can examine the clues and stuff like that. It's very similar. Moving from place to place is pretty straightforward. It's all menu based. The dialogue is generally very snappy. It's a little bit like some of the goofiness, like, why does it always have to be a porno mag? Like, the main character being kind of like porn obsessed is a little bit odd, and I feel like maybe it's because I'm just so used to being in a community that values like, gay porn more than anything else. The heterosexual porn like focus, and it's not even like it's not actual porn in the game, but like, the AI will distract him by saying, "There's a porno mag right at your feet," and he goes, "What?" And he like ducks, and that's how the AI gets him to like dodge a bullet. It's because he looks down and looks for the porno mag. It's like, and that happens several times. It's cute. I don't know. Well, I keep going back and forth. I guess I'll put it slightly higher than the DLC. This is still the bar to clear, the Lemurian Vampire. Yeah, I don't know. It's good. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm gonna play the sequel probably next year. Uchikoshi has earned the right to be hetero. That's true. If there's anybody who's earned the right to be hetero, I really like the like meta like gut punch that it kind of does, where like somebody starts talking to you about like the equivalent of Schrodinger's cat and like Kiki and Booba and the blue dress, the white and gold versus the blue and black and all that stuff, and like the Mandela effect, and you're like, oh my god, we're going full Zero Escape, it's finally happening, I'm ready for this. And then it just swerves immediately. Like you finish like, you know, a couple more, you know, like half hour of gameplay stuff and investigating and blah blah blah, and then you get to this point and you're like, oh, we're not messing with alternate timelines in this one. No, we're just focusing on the dream stuff. Okay. Oh really? Wow. Ooh. And then like an adult character kind of sits you down and goes, well, this other person is saying that stuff because they're not very grounded in reality for very clear reasons. I'm like, oh, okay. And I love that they did that. I love when that happens. I love that they pulled that on me. I would even say that Rain Code, I think another game that came out last year, the like spiritual successor to Danganronpa, does something very similar with knowing that Danganronpa is a very popular franchise and kind of taking that for granted, and then pulling a big twist on you at the very end because of that. And it's another one of those, like, some days I like it, some days I don't, but that's also very Danganronpa. Like, there are three other Danganronpa games that all do that, and they all have a big twist at the end, so it's like, it's not out of character for that to happen. And the fact that it's kind of a big goofy twist, that is what I was expecting and hoping, and to have something like that to hang on to is a fun thing, as opposed to Dragon Age, where it's like, oh, big twist at the end. Like, well, this isn't the franchise that really does that. The main story of a Dragon Age game is rarely the most important part, and so to try and pull a big twist like that felt misguided. I don't know. Anyways, I think I talked about AI Somnium Files enough, and we're getting, god, it's already almost 2.5 hours. I've been talking about video games for a long ass time. Jesus Christ. Here we go. Let's do Danganronpa, a series that I've got many conflicted feelings on. That's kind of the point, like, right? Like, it's fun to have conflicted feelings about that franchise. Let's talk about Marvel Rivals very briefly, because I did play that. And this is the one that goes fully into video games derogatory. Because I don't know. I tried to like this game. I was trying to play with people. I got into it a little bit. I started trying out some characters, and I don't know. You've been playing Marvel Rivals with friends recently for the first time, and you despise your gravitating towards being a Loki main. You remember Tumblr, you might as well be maining the Lunsler. Yeah, here's the thing. I'm putting this in because it's not my thing, but I also think that Marvel Rivals, in a lot of ways, like, I'd put Multiversus in here if I played it. I'd put a lot of live service games. I would put the live service game that I play the most, which is Epic 7, a mobile game that now has a PC client and finally runs very well. I'd put that in video games derogatory, even though I played a lot. Because live service games are so designed to treat you not like a player, not like a person, not like someone consuming art, but as a transaction machine. And playing these games, you know, like, I know that every game has its own variation on what's monetized and what's not. Free to play, blah 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 blah. And it's like, it's very easy to do free to play on a lot of these things, and you can do it without spending money. But they don't want that. They want you to spend the money. They want you to spend the time. And the more time that you spend on these games, the more it stays in your brain. And if there's anything I've learned, I feel like, from years of being on social media, it's that your attention is a currency that you have to kind of think about in terms of money budgeting in this year of our Lord 2024. In current year 2024, you have to be aware of that, because that's what happened to me with Destiny 2 back, years back when I had my other layoff. I got sucked deep into that game. I got sucked deep into Final Fantasy 14 for a while because I had people to play it with. But you have to recognize that these games are fair weather friends at best. You know, I feel like I could take Metaphor ReFantasio and I could get, you know, I could get commissions of my character in cosplay, I could get merch, and I could put it on my wall. I would have no problem with that. Doing something like that for, like, Marvel Rivals, or, you know, I'm just going to put this here too. I'm putting Magic the Gathering Arena in here because it's the same thing. Same issue. Is these games don't treat you like a person. They treat you like a wallet. They treat you like a wallet with an attention span. You're a wallet with a brain attached. And if they can manipulate your brain, if they can't get you to at least pay money, they want you to pay time, and they want you to pay thoughts. And then the more you play it, the more you think about it, the more you talk about it, the more it gets into other people's heads. Like, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy person, but like a conspiracy theorist, but like it's a bit of a mind virus. Like being fin-dommed, exactly. You're letting it. It's not that you're letting it take over you. It's that it wants to take over you, and you have to be the one who puts up the barrier and says, "No, this is enough. I'm stopping now." And there was even a point when I hit that with Epic 7 where I spent like $50 on in-game currency, and it was the first time I'd ever spent that much money on a live service game, ever. And I got what I wanted out of it, but it felt bad because I rationalized it with like, oh, well, I played this game enough that I've played, you know, I paid $60 for games that I've spent way less time on. But is that quality time? Is that is that time that I wish I hadn't spent doing something else? You know, like, would I have been better off playing Balatro during that time? Would I have been better off playing, you know, a sequel to one of these games? And that's like my issue. And games as a service might be an executive salt lick, but they're unsustainable and largely unethical. I agree, yeah. But they are also like, they are present in our timeline, and they are unfortunately attached to some games that just have the juice. And some games just feel really good to play. And that's like Destiny 2. Destiny 2 feels really good to play. But at the same time, what am I really accomplishing? I'm filling up a meter. I'm getting, you know, I'm clearing the strike 8 times so that I can get the reward that I need. So I can be better at clearing the strike 10 times. So I can be better at multiplayer. And so I can be better at Crucible. And it's like, the more game modes that the thing has, the more I think you can reasonably do this stuff. But I don't know, it's have respect. Respect yourself, because these games don't respect you. And that's what I have to say about it. Yeah, okay, Iris. Neil's squeezing in another AI reference. As much as every game's executive wants a full portfolio of forever game ecosystems for cross-brand promotion, God, most people have an economy of attention where they can sustain maybe 2 of these at most. Well, yeah, and I think we hit that since the pandemic. Like, when the pandemic hit, people were at home all the time, and they had a bunch of time to sink into these live service games, and they were wonderful platforms for connecting people who were otherwise not connected to each other. And they gave you a group shared activity to bond over and to discuss, and there's value in that. But that doesn't have to be a live service game. That doesn't have to be free to play. It doesn't have to be a gacha game with gacha mechanics. It doesn't have to have... You don't have to put a slot machine in every game. And when that happened, like when Fortnite became huge and everybody suddenly like, oh, we should just, you know, like do the League of Legends model, just make it premium, free to play, blah, 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 blah. And like, it's so goofy. And yeah, if you make one, you'll be competing with every single one of those games, no matter the genre. You perfectly said, Sony. Like, they're not games you can put down and then come back to. And I feel like the more your game is put downable, the more you'll have actual long-term fans. I think that's where 14 can kind of succeed, is that I feel like I can put down 14 and pick it up when I want to. I don't want to right now. I very rarely want to, but I do pick it up every once in a while. Whereas the game that makes you feel like you have to play it, when it becomes a second job, that's when you're having an issue. That's when, like, I can't have a full-time job and play 14 and also play all these other games on my list. So I stopped playing 14. I stop, and the only reason I play Epic 7 is because it can play itself. Like, it has a feature where I just, like, all right, play 10 runs of this thing. It's like telling a Destiny game to go run 10 strikes and map your movements exactly. Like, you can do that in some of these games. And that's part of why I'm like, all right, I can tolerate this. But I wouldn't tolerate it for money that I paid when it doesn't treat my time very well. And another thing, Magic the Gathering Arena. I'm gonna put on my fucking my hater hat. This thing up here. This is my hater hat right now. MTG announced this year that the Commander Rules committee is now going to be handled by Wizards of the Coast, and these crossover decks, which are extremely popular, are going to be standard legal from a certain point soon. And I feel like I was already on the outs with MTG, and I was of a certain kind of player where I really liked the lore, I really liked the worlds that they made, I really liked the way that their like worlds connected to the mechanics of the cards, the way that the flavor interacted with the crunch of the mechanics. Like, there was no card game that did it quite as good as Magic the Gathering did for a long time. And it turns out that design language is so good that you can adapt it to fucking anything. That's why we have Fallout. That's why we have Doctor Who Magic cards. That's why we have Marvel Magic cards coming, and Final Fantasy Magic cards coming too, even though Final Fantasy has its own game, its own trading card game. That's actually pretty good from what I hear. Yeah. You would also say that if you really like a game, if it becomes tiring and annoying, you'll burn out. Yeah, you don't want to burn out. If you absolutely need to play them, it's exhausting. 14 was like, I'm going to chill by doing 100 different things whenever I want. Well, I got friends who only did one thing and they complained about it. Yeah. I don't want to play with SpongeBob and Walking Dead. It's true. I don't want to put Fallout and Warhammer and Doctor Who in my Magic game. Like, I didn't have a problem with the D&D set, because to me the Forgotten Realms are a perfectly valid like setting for Magic stuff. The same way that Ravnica and a bunch of Magic settings make perfect sense for, you know, D&D gameplay. Like, they are big fantasy worlds. They thrive on a class-based system. There's usually some categorization involved. There's tribes. There's, you know, like, playable races and stuff like that. The crossovers made sense there. Did not have an issue with the D&D set. In fact, I really liked the D&D set. I thought it was very fun. I understand that some people found out it was imbalanced. I didn't play it enough to get there. But when it started being like, here's a movie property. Like, I was telling somebody, if Final Fantasy at least feels kind of the same space as D&D and Lord of the Rings, where it feels kind of the same tone, and it's just like, if you, there was a thing I was gonna say. That's what it was. There was a time when making your own card design around like pop culture character, or arguing what colors pop culture character would be, like Batman. What colors from the Magic the Gathering, you know, color pie, the 5 white, blue, black, red, green, which color or colors would he be? People would argue like, oh, he's blue-white because, you know, blue is, he's all about knowledge, he's a detective, he's a dude who cares very much about, yeah, exactly. And so like, or black-white is also reasonable because he's a vigilante, but he's also ultimately standing up for the order, for the status quo. And so these kinds of arguments, these kinds of discussions that we're having right now, that you have these feelings that you're having, they're taking all of that away by making, here's what the Iron Man card is, here's what the Spider-Man card is, here's what the 10th Doctor card is, here's what your favorite character from Warhammer, that card is. And because that's too lucrative for them to not do it. Yeah, it sucks. That's why Magic games are in video games derogatory. Because Magic the Gathering is not a game with fiction. It's not a game with lore. It is a rule box. It's a rule set that Wizards of the Coast can choose to print very fancy cards of. And they can do whatever they want with it. And I guess this was true the whole time. But there was a time when Magic felt like more of a cohesive product. And I know that they will continue to release sets that will still be cohesive and they will still represent things like settings and all that. But like, when you have to share the stage with Spider-Man how special are you really? No one's gonna care about Gumfuck McGee from Thunderfuck County in the original setting when Miles Morales is over there at stage left and getting the applause and the money and the tips that WotC really wants to see. I'm so sorry to have to break this to you. Don't insult Gumfuck. Universe Beyond being in standard feels absolutely inevitable, really, given Hasbro's business practices. They know and value fandom as a profitable vector. Yeah. A lot of it has to do how they treat MVG now is very much how they do with Transformers. Yep. Yeah. Like, we love Gumfuck. Gumfuck is my nickname for Gumshoe from Ace Attorney. Anyways, what were we talking about? Yeah, Hasbro. I hate Hasbro. Fuck Hasbro. All my homies hate Hasbro. I don't. Hasbro fired everybody on D&D that worked with Larian on Baldur's Gate 3. All of them. Salary cutting noises, unironically though. I hate Hasbro. D&D had an incredible 2023 if you didn't look at the game itself. And Hasbro. Like, the movie came out, it was good. Baldur's Gate 3 came out, and it was good. Everything that had to do with the game itself was like, oh, Hasbro wants to use more AI and stuff. And Hasbro has to do layoffs. And rather than cut executive salaries, they're going to cut, stuff from the D&D staff, one of their biggest money makers. Like, it's so stupid. I hate Hasbro. Chris Cox can go resign, bitch. That's what I say. Every time you see Gumshoe, you think about this TF picture where he was demoted to police dog. No. The worst thing that they ever did to Gumshoe, in my opinion, was in the live-action Ace Attorney movie. They made him just like a regular-ass guy who was just a competent cop, but also very much like a cop of the system. And I was like, no. I had to believe in his ineffectiveness as part of why he's not part of all the bastards. You have to let me have this. Don't make him competent. Anyways, that's another soapbox moment. I've talked about Marvel Rivals and I've talked about MTG Arena enough. Let's talk about Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones, I played on stream. That was my last stream before this one. Indiana Jones is really good, actually. Like, it's sad that Redfall came out this year, when Indiana Jones also came out and was basically a better arcane game than Redfall was. And, man, it's fun. I will say, the first half is a lot better than the second half, because there's 3 main areas. You want it? You want it? You need it? It's very good, and it's worth playing. I will say, the ending sequence is kind of a letdown in that, like, it doesn't really do much with its mechanics. It's too busy trying to be a typical kind of like Indiana Jones final act. But the beginning, the opening sequence, specifically going into the Vatican and everything in the Vatican is very fun. There's the Vatican, Giza, and some other stuff, and then there's a third area which I will not talk about much. But the Vatican's very fun. It reminds me of like playing first-person Assassin's Creed, but also like Hitman. Like you are. It's so much fun to run around that area and just explore and be in disguise and like upgrade your disguises by finding the ones that are like, this is the military disguise, and you like, oh yeah, you sneak in, and then just they really nailed the way that like improvised weaponry in a quick fight, like in very much in the way of Dishonored. Like, if they're just if you have 2 enemies, you can take them both down probably pretty easily, as long as one of them is not about to sound the alarm. But if one of them sounds the alarm, you are so fucked, and then it quickly becomes like 10 people versus you, and it's very hard to win those. And you can get into a small scrap as Indiana Jones and usually like make it out and systematically make your way towards the objective, and it's really fun to do that. especially when you're not worried about like one of the issues with Dishonored is like, oh, I got to make sure that I don't kill anybody, and it's like, yeah, you don't care about that in Indiana Jones, because primarily I've seen these Nazis take like 6 shots to the head and they have not gone down somehow, which is wild. But it's not terribly violent. It's not a Wolfenstein game where there's just like guts exploding everywhere. It's more about like, okay, I gotta knock this guy down and I gotta knock him out. I gotta, move the body over here, blah, 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 blah. And, it's very scrappy in the way that Indiana Jones feels. When you like that man, he survives all of his adventures by the skin of his teeth, and you feel like you're doing that too, even if you're like utterly prepared, like even if you have full resources, fully leveled stamina, fully leveled health and all that. It's so much, it's really fun. I recommend it. It was a great way to close out the year of games for me before I dipped back into Tactical Breach Wizards. The Vatican is definitely the high point. Unfortunately, Giza is like, it's in Egypt. It's not quite the pyramids. It's near the pyramids, and you run around a lot. And unfortunately, there's no like vehicles, so getting from place to place, you have to rely on the fast travel system. And the fast travel system is like Witcher style. You have to go to a signpost, and you have to have been to the other signpost to unlock them. And so unlocking them is kind of a pain. And then in the third area, it's this big like you travel around by like motorboat a lot, and it's kind of annoying to control, and then you have to do a lot of like swimming. Don't love the swimming. Like unfortunately the third area is kind of the weakest, and so it front loads a lot of the best stuff. So it's also kind of one of those games that like if you just want to power through it after you think that you've gotten enough side content, just do it, because the last like several hours of that game do not require you to be particularly like high level or high resource. Yeah. You have some haughty critical opinions about it as an Indiana Jones fan, and I've been making an anti-Indiana Jones. Yeah. Oh, is it 3 years already for Protect the Sacred? Gosh. Oh man, that don't even make me think about how long I've been idly plucking away at my Vaporwave Purgatory game. They want to incentivize other forms of gameplay. Yeah. How short a game is Dishonored is when you don't care about being a murder hub. Yeah, high chaos Dishonored games are a very different experience than, trying to be low chaos. Which is why I like Death of the Outsider for not really punishing you for that. Just letting you have a Dishonored game without that baggage is actually very nice. Yeah. And you appreciate it as far as you've heard you don't have to hurt any dogs. Game of the Year simply for the fact that you can punch fascists. But yeah, it's very fun to punch fascists. It's very fun, rewarding, and like the sound design, the visual design, the feel of it is very, very good. 300 pages. Oh my god. I'm excited though. I can't wait to read that shit. Yeah, Indiana Jones, very good. I would put it better than AI, but not quite Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. That's where I put it. We have a lot of excellent games this year. I have had my soapbox about these two. I have my loud moment about Famicom Detective Club, my regrettable Animal Well experience, some complicated feelings about these other games, some fun ones, good ones, but most surprisingly excellent releases. All right. This is a really good list with correct opinions. Thank you. I'm feeling so valid in the Chili's tonight. Let's see. I need to pick a game of the year. Oh, I gotta pick a game of the year. Why do I gotta pick it? Why did I do this to myself? I'm gonna put contenders in this tier, and we're gonna move them out as I get excited. So Metaphor is up there. Balatro is up there. Tactical Breach Wizards is up there. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't finished it, so it's probably the only reason why I'm like, this is gonna be the first one to move, is I haven't finished it yet. Paradise Killer is very good. I don't know if it was better than Metaphor or Balatro. It's not in the same league. AI is also very good. Indiana Jones, if it didn't have that back half problem, Like, ugh. Okay. No, okay. I've decided we're putting Tactical Breach Wizards back here. It's really down to Metaphor and Balatro. Golden Idol. The Golden Idol DLC. The one DLC that I played this year. That's gotta be it. Oof. So this is these two games could not be more, like, philosophically opposed to me. Like, one is a video game. There is no story. It is all mechanics. It is all patterns. It is all interactions, and it is juicy. It's a big juicy fruit that drips down my beard, and I have to get a napkin and I have to wipe it away. But it's all so sweet and luscious. And Metaphor, like, I could eat this any day. Any day I could play Balatro. I booted up Balatro probably 4 times in the past 2 weeks, and I've played it for 30 minutes to an hour. Every time has been good. Metaphor grabbed me and refused to let me go. And partly, like, I worry that I'm overinflating it, because I started playing Metaphor like days after my layoff happened. And so I really needed a good game to kind of sink myself into, to unwind and recover from burnout. And I worry, and then the election was happening. We were all very stressed about that, which is more likely to influence my tabletop game going forward. Oh man, going forward, it's definitely Metaphor, but only because Balatro has already influenced it, and its time has passed for influencing my game. Metaphor's influence is going to be more. It's going to be more lasting, because there's more I can do with that. I'll eat my cookie. Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Lan. I should eat a cookie and think about this. Hold on. I'm thinking. Okay. I'm still thinking. It's true, every Game of the Year conversation is just vibes and feelings. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. Okay, I think I've landed. Here's the thing. Balatro will continue to get updated. There's very high likelihood that Metaphor will get its, like, golden or royal or whatever re-release with some extra content and stuff. The core experience of it will not change. Balatro will probably evolve over time, because I bought that game right before it got its first big content update, where it fixed a lot of, not fixed a lot, but it updated, like, it balanced a lot of things. It made a lot of the tags give you, like, free jokers, or, like, removed the price on a lot of things. It added a bunch of jokers. It updated the values on a lot of things. I want Balatro to continue to be that game and to evolve further, and I think it will, even though it's not, like, it's not an early access or anything. It's a complete game. You can sit down. Did I mouth break? What do you mean? What is mouth breaking? What is that? What's going on? I must know. I've been derailed entirely by this one chat message. Putting my fists on my chin. Tell me more. What you mean by mouth breaking? Maybe it's just your stream. I'm frozen. That's so weird. You can hear me. Well, my preview is showing fine. I've become PNG. Well, there's nothing else moving on screen besides me, huh? And I guess the sex. Okay, give it a refresh, Neil. I think it'll work out. Let's see. So Atlas has stated that they're going to lean into DLC going forward because they heard the term Atlas tax. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and I like that idea. I feel like there's potential for Metaphor to get some interesting DLC. but it would be like Echoes of the Fallen, Rising Tide, Lemurian Vampire. It should be its own like little side story going on. And the core experience of Metaphor is, to me, representative of the best that gaming can give us in 2024. I think also thematically, it's an extremely 2024 game. It is about not just using fantasy as an escape. It is proving essentially that escaping into fantasy is not the point. It is using fantasy as a mirror to our world, our real world that we live in, and the problems that it has. And the reflection of that is the point of fantasy. And thematically, that's just very resonant with what's going on in the world today in the year 2024. Balatro is just a real fucking good ass video game. Like, it's just extremely good, and it will continue to be good, and I'm grateful for it. But it is not emblematic of 2024 to me. Like, it is. I feel like it's the start of something new, whereas Metaphor is like something has been perfected here, and I'm very interested to see where it goes from there. So that's why I think I'm gonna have to give it to Metaphor. I gotta do it. All right. That's relief. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking for a long time Metaphor was gonna be it, but I had to entertain the idea there would be another one, and I tried to argue myself out of it as much as I could, but I kept coming back to that. And I'll tell you something. On the election night this year, I was playing Metaphor, and I was hiding from the news. I was hiding from everything, which was a good choice because there was some bad news that night, and there was bad news in the morning after. In Metaphor, I hit this point in a story where it pulled this same twist that Fire Emblem Three Houses did about halfway through. And I won't say what it was or even hint at that. But the way Metaphor did it, the way that Metaphor pulled it off, was better than any other game that had done that twist before. And it combined with the themes of the game so well, and it hit really hard on that particular night that I was actually moved emotionally in a way that I have not been moved by a video game in a long time. So that's partly remembering that moment. Like, as wonderful as Balatro is, and as high as those high goes, it hits very high peaks. Metaphor climbs a mountain just a little bit higher, and it's vibes based. But you know what? This channel is Orc Vibes. We're not here for Orc, Wikipedia. We're not here for Orc knowledge. It's Orc Vibes, and the vibes are immaculate. Okay. I haven't mentioned it in a long time, but I had the live version of this, the vote for yourself version. So I'm gonna actually, let's see, copy, and we're gonna look at the other one. Let's see, paste and go. That's not what I said. Get out of here. Can I copy that? Let's hope that works. There we go. What did everybody think? Oh, I guess I should probably vote for my stuff real quick, huh? We put Animal Well at C. Tactical Breach Wizards was A. Final Fantasy Rebirth was B. We had B for that one. Metaphor was A. Latra was A. Marine Vapor was A. That was Cromulent. Indiana Jones was also an A, right? I hope I did that right. Yeah. Rivals, we put Derogatory. Zelda, I believe we put that B. Ace Attorney was also B. Yeah. Arena, Derogatory. Prey was Cromulent. AI was, I believe, Excellent. Yes. Excellent. Paper Mario was also Excellent. Yes. Ember, I think we put was that B? Ember was B. Sagrada was C. Dragon Age was C. Paradise Killer was A. Yes. A. Final Shape was C. That was, did not enjoy that, folks. Okay, we got it. We're back here. A for AI. All right. Now that I've voted my votes here, let's see the total results. Blap. We have a lot of stuff in A tier for you guys. We have Metaphor, Balatro, Paper Mario. Yeah, everybody generally kind of agreeing. We have a little bit of a boost in the rankings for Ace Attorney Investigations. Very nice. Paradise Killer, respectable, still respectably up here. B tier, Zelda and Rebirth. Animal Well. I see we have some Animal Well fans in the chat. Good for you guys. This is where we have the popular vote going on here. If you guys want to have the pinned, if you haven't voted yet, you can still do it real quick if you want to. And we have, I mostly agree with this. This is all on the same page. You guys put Ember down a little bit lower than I think I did. I had a little bit more fun. MTG Arena, all you guys. I like how there are there's a lot of people voting for derogatory for rivals. Anybody else? Oh, we have 2 votes for did not enjoy this one, which sank the Famatom Detective Club. They're not coming back next year, baby. Moon Crash, the wrong art for that, but whatever. Yeah, Dragon Age. This all lines up. This is pretty close to what I was voting. I think Marvels and D tier is incredibly very funny. Yeah, but you guys, I already went on my rant about live service games and how they're built to kind of manipulate us, which as long as we understand that relationship. Oh, we have a slip. Did something slip? Something moved. I thought I just saw something move. What moved? I missed it. Oh wait, somebody put C tier for Ace Attorney Investigations, and it bumped it all the way down. Oh my god. Chat, can you believe this just happened? It's a Christmas anti-miracle, a Christmas tragedy. Can you believe it? It was a fun variable that boosted my perception of Ember. Yeah, it's true. Oh my god. It's been 3 hours, which is usually how long my streams go. I did not think this was going to take a full 3 hours, but it did. I don't know. What are we going to do? I think I know who I'm going to raid. I'm going to raid somebody. I'm going to raid somebody that I've always wanted to raid. I've only done it every once in a while. Let me see if I can pull this up. Get my dashboard going. It was a quick 3 hours. I'm glad you think it was a quick 3 hours. It was quick for me too. I was worried that just talking for 3 hours was going to be a little bit weird, but it worked out. I think we made it happen. Yeah. Wait, I gotta go through my rewards queue and make sure that I mark them all as done. I ate my Christmas cookies. I feel much more gastronomically balanced than I did last time when I was eating every 7 minutes. Ugh, and that was a piece of candy. Boy, someday I'm going to make a video out of that. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for chiming in and being part of the conversation. It was very fun. It was nice to get the immediate feedback and talk with you guys about all this stuff. Especially thank you, Sahoni, for coming by with some expert opinions on game design. I feel like such a noob sometimes, but it's nice to have these conversations with people who know what they're talking about. Let's see. We are gonna raid. Who are we raiding? This bitch better be online. Haha! I knew it. I knew you'd be online. Guess who we're gonna raid? We're gonna raid somebody who was in the chat earlier. We're raiding Kiro. We're doing it. I gotta make sure that I got this right. I gotta put the thing in. I gotta. Pardon me. There we go. All right. Let's do a little raid. We should have a raid message for Kirill. He's playing Ollie Ollie World, which means that he's skateboarding around a lot. What should we do about that? What should we do about that? I think What should we do? How about... No, I'm blanking. I'm blanking. I can't believe it. How about we just say Happy Honda Days? And then we'll put a little emote. You can get an emote for 80 channel points on my account. And we'll do a little blush. Happy Honda. Offsite alerts, yeah. That's kind of why I like blasting it out to like Telegram and stuff. It's very nice to be able to do that. And I'll put end stream in here. Oop, there we go. Follow me on Blue Sky. I'm on Blue Sky primarily now. That's where I do most of my capital P posting. And you can check out my other places. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I tend to send Telegram updates. I post on Blue Sky, I post on Twitter because I feel like I have to. My accounts are private on Twitter because I don't want to grow there anymore, but some people just haven't left. And I post on Mastodon and Tumblr. I don't think I get a lot of traction on Tumblr. I feel like I'm like stage crew on Tumblr for much funnier orcs like Kirill and Orcboxer, whose like character name escapes me. I want to say Brick? No, Skip? No, something like that. Anyways, let's raid Kirill. What do you think? Let's get it. Let's send them all over. Let's begin the raid. And I will unpin my message. Boom. Here we go. Beautiful, beautiful. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. I know we're heading into the back, more than back half. I guess the final stretch of December. And we're going to hit the new year. And I'm going to start off strong by continuing to stream, I think. And probably going to do Case of the Golden Idol, or Rise of the Golden Idol, coming up soon. And a Monsters Expedition, probably soon after that. And tonight I'm going to go back to playing Tactical Reach Wizards, because that game's so much fucking fun. Like, God, it's very funny. I've laughed more playing that game than I expected to. And make sure you tell Kirill to say hi. Once again, we'll do bloop. Happy Honda Days, Kirill, if you want to pop that up. God, imagine getting bonked in the head by your own emote. That's like a little mini-me. It's like, my son should never talk to me again. He hit me in the face with his face. Very rude. Yeah. Oh, and shout out to Lewd Leech for doing my VTuber avatar, which is always cute and adorable. And I appreciate his work on it. Yeah. I'll see you guys maybe for New Year's, but definitely in January. Take care.